Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the Game of Thrones post-episode issues, Season 1, Episode 3, Lord Snow. And we are on this adventure of the Game of Thrones. Welcome back if you've been joining us. And if this is your first time, please hit that subscribe button. We like to recap our favorite shows right after they air. And we love Game of Thrones that much. We're going back in time. We're going 88 miles per hour. We're going in the phone booth, whatever, dialing the number and going back in time to before Game of Thrones.
Wild stallions!
So please, if this is your first time here and you're watching this, please be respectful of spoilers of the future. We try to keep things within the context of the episode that we're talking about and before that. So
we are only human.
We are only human, so just quick warnings, we are only human. But everybody, if you want to join in the discussion, we'd love to hear what you think of this episode of Game of Thrones. You can use the comment section below, or if you're watching us live, you can use the chat section. Or if you're listening to us on iTunes or anywhere else, you can send me an email at igotissuesman@gmail.com or leave a voicemail or text at 781-990-8509. But let's get right to it. Let's not waste any time. With me, as always, is my co-host on this adventure, Joe Dirty Locks. How are you doing today, Joe?
I'm doing well. How you doing?
I'm doing really good. This was an awesome episode of Game of Thrones. I think every episode of Season 1 is amazing, and this one is something an episode that after we watched this, I watched it twice. Could you turn me down a little bit? I'm echoing all over the place.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mentioned how you can reach us if you have any questions or comments. There's also a Google Plus community. You can find all those descriptions in the descriptions below, and all those links in the descriptions below. And also, if you're into it, please subscribe to us on iTunes. You can get either the Game of Thrones feed or just our feed for all of our shows. And again, you can see that in the description below. Okay, enough of that shit. Enough of the talking this up, getting into this, getting ready. That's perfect, Joe. I can't hear myself anymore. But let's get into this. So the episode starts out, and we see the army and the whole crew of Ned Stark approaching King's Landing, as we see kind of, like the poor folk of the city watching their new hand get off the horse. Their new hand was getting off the horse. And almost immediately as the hand gets off, some little slimy bastard messenger boy comes up and says, "Ned Stark, we need the honor of your presence at a small council meeting." I mean, Joe, he doesn't even have a chance to get off the fucking horse.
No, there's things to be done. It's a big kingdom.
Yeah, but
it's 7 kingdoms.
Right away, I'm like, someone's being a dick to Ned Stark. Someone's like, don't even let him sit down. Get his ass in here now.
Yep.
And we do find out who that is in a little bit, but we'll get into that.
You mean we find out who that is? I mean, everybody's a dick to Ned Stark right off the bat.
Except for a couple people. There's one.
Everybody's a dick to him.
No, Renly is not a dick to him.
That's true.
Renly is definitely not a dick to him.
Renly looks up to him.
Him and Renly greet each other so warmly. If no matter how many times you watch that, they love each other. He loves Renly. He thinks of Renly as a little brother. He grabs him and squeezes him. And Varys is respectful. I'm mainly talking about Littlefinger. Because Renly says this could have waited. I mean, we're jumping ahead. Renly says this meeting could have waited, and Littlefinger goes, "No, it had to happen now." You get a feeling that Pycelle and Littlefinger are the ones, in my mind, being more of a dick to Ned Stark.
Yeah.
So, but I agree with you. No one is really pumped to see Ned Stark there, except for Renly. So Ned tells his men to stay with the girls and get settled in, and this little shit fuck who requested him asks Ned, "Well, you might want to change your clothes first. You're not quite dressed properly." I thought Ned was going to kill him right there.
Yeah.
Chop his fucking dick off.
Not dressed properly. I'm dressed the way I'm dressed, motherfucker. There is no properly.
And then he just eye fucks him, like, the one more word and you die look, while he takes off his gloves, and he goes, "I guess I'll change by taking off my gloves, you bitch." And then he starts walking in. Now, speaking of bitches, there was a lot of really great stuff in this episode, Joe, but 2 scenes in this episode, to me, are the 2 best scenes, the ones that are the most memorable and and to me, the ones that are just so fucking amazing. This is one of them, and the other one also involves Jaime Lannister. My two favorite moments of this episode involve Jaime Lannister. One is more because of King Robert and Sir Barristan, but this scene with Ned and Jaime is fucking amazing.
This is where he walks into the throne room, and Jaime's splayed out on the stairs right in front of the Iron Throne. And as I think it kind of gets explained a little bit in this scene.
Yes.
But there's history to this scene specific with Ned walking into the throne room, only it involved a dead king at Jaime's feet and Jaime in the throne and not on the stairs.
Yeah, that specifically doesn't get talked about in the scene. Something else does. But what Joe's talking about is post-Robert Rebellion, and we'll do a whole video on Robert's Rebellion at some point. But basically, when Ned arrived at King's Landing, and he was the man that arrived first and rode his horse in there, Jaime was sitting on the throne with his lion mask on, all chilling, relax, and be like, "Hey, what's up, Ned? I'm just holding the throne for Robert. Don't worry."
Yeah, and Aegon's on the floor dead.
Yeah, and Ned is just a real stickler for the rules, as you can see in the scene that we're about to get to. So on his way to the throne room, he does, as Joe said, he sees Jaime kind of just sitting on the stairs, and Jaime immediately gets into it with him a little in that smug way, that smug Lannister way. Goes, "It would be nice to get some good stern northern leadership, Stark."
Yeah.
and then Ned comes right back. It's good to see you protecting the throne. So Jaime starts talking shit about how the throne must have hurt so many kings' asses. It's not very comfortable anyway.
Yeah.
And then we get into a really cool exchange here. Ned says, "Very handsome armor, not a scratch on it." To which Jaime says, "I know, people have been swinging at me for years, but they always seem to miss. You've chosen your opponents wisely then. I have a knack for it." Jamie's just, again, kind of like eye-fucking him, like, you know what, Ned Stark, I would slice you up if I wanted to. And Ned is looking at him like, "Fuck you. You can dance around. I'm going to chop your goddamn head off with my
Right, you would die so quick. As Darth Sandwich in the chat room puts out, Ned is such an asshole to Jaime.
Oh, such an asshole.
Even though Jaime saved the whole kingdom, and he says it, I think, again in this speech here, you know, how the king just said the same thing he always said. And that might even be in a later scene, too.
No,
but
it's here, because Jaime, and I wrote in my notes, I think at this point, after that quick exchange where they were just sparring, showing each other their dicks, I think Jaime, in his weird, fucked up way, was trying to connect or gain respect from Ned Stark in this moment. Because then he changes the subject, and he says, he also brings up your father and your brother. It must be hard for you to be in this room.
Well, yeah, this is a little bit of a barb to Ned also. This isn't just trying to, this is
I know
he's trying to explain himself a little bit, trying to get a little bit on Ned's good side, but he's also trying to still continue that spar by bringing up his dead brother and dead father.
I know, but like again, that's why I wrote in the notes. I don't know if he's trying to connect to him, because it comes off in both ways. Because he brings up, to dig in. It must be hard for you to be in the room because this is where your father and older brother Brandon happened. It happened right here in this spot. And he goes very earnestly, they didn't deserve to die. No one deserves to die like that. I believe Jaime when he said that.
I believed him too. I absolutely believed him too. There's definitely a bit of Jaime who feels like he did not, even though, see, Ned looks at it like this. He's a king's guard. He swore an oath. That oath meant one thing. You don't harm the king. You protect the king. He broke that oath. He's a liar. He stabbed the king in the back. And unfortunately, to Ned, that is almost everything. It's irrelevant that the Mad King killed his brother and his father. Ned was there to get that revenge on his own, and Jaime kind of took that from him. Not only that, but there was a lot of reasons for Ned to be upset about Jaime killing Aegon the Mad King. And even though as a person with some sort of morals, Jaime kind of did the right thing. The king wants the whole King's Landing burned to the ground. If I can't have it, no one will.
I can't lie. I connect with a little bit of what Jaime ends up getting into here when he says that Ned goes, no. So you watched him do that, but didn't do anything and didn't try to stop him. And Jaime goes with a rationalization that 500 people stood and watched it. The room was silent. No one said anything. All the best knights in the Seven Kingdoms, and the room was silent. Well, except for the screams of the Mad King. He was laughing. Aerys was laughing, and then Jaime says, "You know what? When I was stabbing my sword through the back of the Mad King, I thought about this for a second, and I felt like it was justified, like it was a stab of justice." And as Joe said, and Ghetto Toad is mentioned in the chat room, welcome Ghetto Toad, Ned is so honor-bound. He goes, so that's what you tell yourself at night? That's what you fucking tell yourself at night? You're a servant of fucking justice? That you stabbed him in his back to honor my father and brother? Fuck you. They wouldn't want that or whatever. Why didn't you stab him in the back while he was burning them to save their lives? And then Jaime goes, would you respect me more if I stabbed him in the belly? And a great line by Jaime.
Right, to his face. Does it matter that it was to his back? Like, either way, he's dead, and I killed him. And yeah, 500 people were watching that, all that, there's that saying, all that evil needs to triumph is for good men to stand and do nothing. But if they're good men, they wouldn't stand and do nothing. That's the whole point.
Absolutely, and I'm not the only one. Why do I get the brunt of this bullshit? A couple of cool comments in the chat room. Ghetto Toad, as I mentioned a second ago, Ned is a man of honor. Stabbing a man he's sworn to protect is not really honorable. It seems like Jaime's calling Ned out a little bit in this scene.
Oh yeah, he absolutely is.
And Renwood, I love you because I agreed 1,000 times with what you just said. And don't forget that the Mad King was the enemy and deserved to die, Ned. And I agree. Robert gets that. That's the biggest difference between Robert. Robert doesn't love Jaime Lannister. He doesn't think of what he did as honorable. But Robert really, in some level, when Jaime gets into it later in this episode, is like, you know what? You did the right thing. You know what? I might call you Kingslayer and fuck with you, but you did the right thing. Aerys was a fucking cuckoo beans.
Yeah, no. So there's Darth Sandwich says, the Mad King had the wildfire stuff. He had it spread all over King's Landing underneath. He was going to have it set off. He was going to burn the whole kingdom down. And that's true. He absolutely was. And even though that's the case, and that makes it the urgency to not wait for Ned to get there to kill the king, because he's already given Jaime the order to pass the order along to burn everything down.
Yeah, burn everybody.
But still, Ned wanted that for himself. Ned absolutely wanted that for himself. No doubt about it. And even if Jaime had just stood there and let Ned kill the king, Ned still would have been pissed at Jaime for not standing up and fighting and doing his sworn honor. It's all about that oath he swore. Everything in this kingdom revolves around that. If you take your oath at the Black, if you abandon your post, you get killed. You take your oath as a Kingsguard. You don't do it, you should be killed. Ned wanted him sent to the Wall to spend the rest of his life at the Wall because, he did an awful thing, but it was justified, and so he deserved not to be put to death for it, but maybe serve the rest of his life honorably, kinda, at the Wall, serving as, a ranger or something like that. That couldn't happen as far as Tywin was concerned.
Oh, no way.
That would absolutely mean his heir was gone for good.
Now, if we really just want to get into it and gush out here for a second for George R.R. Martin, this is just a credit to the way he writes characters and stories. There's just so many layers of gray and so many layers of even the people you think are the bad guys, the people you think are the good guys are wrong in some ways and are right in other ways. I mean, Jaime Lannister and Ned Stark are the perfect examples. Ned's honor holds him back sometimes from looking at the truth, I think. And Jaime is the swarmiest, douchiest person on earth, but also such an honorable man when you really come down to it. That
just having the Wall there adds a gray area. So Black and White says this guy's got to die. He broke the oath. He should be put to death. But because we have the Wall, let's throw him in that gray area, let him live out his life up there, relatively free. He can still travel. He can, go visit places and collect prisoners like they do and all this shit. There's a lot for him to do. But Tywin knows he can't let that happen. Tywin talks to Robert about it. He says, Robert, you're going to marry my sister. Don't let him go to the wall. He did the right thing. They all agree, and they give him a pardon and let him keep his post as protector of the king. And Ned finds this disgusting. You cannot trust him. He killed the last king, Robert. You can't, he's already broken his oath in this position. So the whole thing is bad for him as far as he's concerned. Remember that coming at this scene, something we haven't mentioned yet too is, although there's this history between them and we know exactly why Ned is very upset with Jaime and doesn't like him at all, and we know that Jaime certainly feels this and has felt this kind of animosity and knew what Ned had planned for him after that whole incident to begin with, to go to the wall and all this shit, and Jaime got out of that by the skin of his teeth. Jaime's also in this room knowing that he just threw the guy's fucking son out a tower window to almost die and be paralyzed. So there's that. You got to remember. So there's a big part of Jaime that thinks that Ned might have figured something out, or might know something, or possibly, and he's expecting a fight at some point anyway with this guy because he just chucked his son out the tower window of Winterfell.
Right, Jaime could be overcompensating a little bit because he does feel slightly guilty for not only being there when his father and brother were killed, but also tossing his son out a window because he was
10-year-old son.
Because he was boning his sister.
So yes. That too, that's in the either back or very forefront of Jaime's mind right now in this scene with Ned.
Now the moment when Jaime says to Tyrion in the whorehouse in episode 1 makes even more sense to me, when he's like, "Don't leave me alone with these people." It just makes more sense why Jaime feels the way he does about the Starks, because as Ghetto Toad said, there's no love between Ned and the Kingslayer, and there's just no love just in general between the Starks and the Lannisters.
Right, and to prove also that point that there's no love is this isn't their first interaction. They just spent a month on the road together, plus whatever time together up at Winterfell. Like, they've been traveling together, they've spent time with each other. This isn't their first conversation, so this is still yet more drawn out hate between the two of them. You can't imagine there be any pleasantries along that whole month-long journey back from Winterfell either.
Exactly. The things he does for love. The things Jaime Lannister does for love. So, yeah, so Ned says to him the line of the scene, which really digs in after they go after they're trading back and forth, and as we said, if I stabbed him in the belly, would you have more respect? And Ned says something that just, I think, symbolizes Ned Stark in a lot of ways, besides all the personal issues. His main objection to Jaime Lannister. Ned said, "You served well when serving was safe." Meaning, he served Aerys well when there was no one challenging Aerys. When Aerys was a mad motherfucker and everyone was backing him up, but the Lannisters, he looks at not only with everything else we said, he also looks at the Lannisters as being very opportunistic people that sees.
They didn't get involved in Robert's rebellion until the rebellion was won. Until there was basically nothing but King's Landing left to take. Dragonstone left to go to go liberate and stuff. They had already won most of the major battles. Rhaegar was laying dead at the Trident. There was a lot of shit going on, and it was just about over. The rebellion was just about to win, and Tywin Lannister shows up at the gate, says, "Let me in. I will help protect King's Landing. We have this history together. I used to be your hand. I was your dad's hand. Let's do this. We'll prevail." And when Aerys opens up the gates, he runs in and slaughters everybody.
Yep.
Kills the entire royal family. The two that are over in Essos, they escape. Dany and Viserys, they escape, luckily. But everybody else dies in this Tywin Lannister rout of King's Landing.
Yep, and
rout is the right word. Almost kind of like a Trojan horse, only they weren't in a horse. They just, said, "We're here to help," and completely stabbed the king in his back.
Yep. As Genoto, literally, the Lannisters are the type of people that will literally stab you in the back.
Yep.
So, well, after this awesome scene that really was so incredible that we brought the internets down and crushed the show because of how awesome the scene between Jaime and Ned was. It was just one of my favorite scenes in the entire series of Game of Thrones. Any interaction Ned Stark and Jaime Lannister have had in these first 3 episodes really is fucking awesome, and I hope it's just you could tell it's leading to something, and I hope they have some sort of really awesome conclusion with these two, and we'll see if it goes in that direction. So here we go, off to the small council meeting where we meet a lot of very fun people. Ghetto Toad says Tyrion is the only Lannister I like, and
I think he might be the only Lannister anybody likes. Is there any other? There is no other like. I mean, I guess people will like Jaime at a certain point. They'll start liking him. That's how the character's kind of written. But for the start of this, there's nobody else that's likable. Even Tyrion, for the first few episodes, he's not that likable of a guy. He's quick-witted and we like watching him, but he's a little prick too. He treats he talks down to everybody while talking himself up I don't know. He's not a very likable person, even though he's not necessarily dishonorable or anything like that. Like he's a little whoremongering, lecherous drunk, you know.
The way Peter Dinklage plays him, he plays him
lushy little lecher.
He plays him like he's everything you said's true, but he also does it with charm. He
does, and he's a handsome guy. You know? The actor himself is a very, very charming with a lot of charisma, Peter Dinklage, and so he gets away with all this like snotty bitch that he gives to everybody. Because it's not just that he's a snotty little bitch, and what he says, there's a lot of truth in what he says, and that's why he's kind of likable as well, because he doesn't schmooze people just because they are who they are. He tells it like it is, and he can get away with it because of who he is. Mm-hmm. You know, what are you going to do? You're going to beat up on the little man? You're going to punch the little guy in the face because he was because he said something you didn't like? Which, in those times, yeah, they would have, but he's a Lannister, so no, he doesn't get punched in the face and thrown into with the pigs and shit.
Darth Sandwich says, "What do you do in Game of Thrones? You really make me hate Charles Dance." Yes, Tywin is amazing. We haven't got to Tywin yet, but we're going to talk at length when he ends up showing up. And I like to hate Tywin. I will say that. That's the best way.
Oh yeah, what a fucking asshole. Like, sorry to put it out there like that, but he is such an evil bastard. Oh, awesome.
We'll have time to get into that. The war over Beatrax says the war was over when Rhaegar was killed. Jaime had to kill the Mad King because his father had entered the city and he wasn't going to burn him, let him be burned either. I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that the Mad King at that point was probably, I don't know, we'll have to see later if that gets revealed, pushing Jaime to get rid of his father at that point too.
Oh yeah, like he was thinking about a lot of stuff. He just watched Ned's whole family lords, and it wasn't just Ned's family; it was all these other lords and sons too that kind of got killed.
Yep,
it wasn't just those two.
Darth Sandwich says Tommen seems likable. He likes cats and isn't a psychopathic asshole. That's very true. Tommen seems like a nice little chubby boy, and Ren would add, yeah, Tommen and Marcella seem sweet. And what we've seen of them so far, they definitely seem sweet. Beatrix Tyrion says it's better to be a rich cripple. It's always better to be a rich cripple. What are you, a dwarfist, Joe?
Who knows what I am.
Ghetto Toad says, oh no, that was to Ghetto Toad in the chat room. You won't touch the half man. What are you, a toadist? And B-Trax says the real question is, would Jaime have killed him if his father didn't show up? That's a very interesting question. Do you think Jaime would have done the same just to protect King's Landing, or do you think one of the big reasons why he stabbed him in the back was because his father was in the city as well?
I think it had nothing to do with actually. I think it did have something to do with protecting King's Landing, but I think there was definitely probably orders from Tywin to kill Aemon.
Yeah,
Tywin was coming there to sack the whole, or maybe Tywin was actually showing up. I don't, to save the city, but when he saw that his son had killed Aemon, he sacked the city instead.
Who knows? Who knows? I wouldn't put it past, from what we know of Tywin's past before then and how he protected the Lannister name when it was only went under. And again, we're gonna do something. If you haven't already, please. There's lots of amazing videos on Lannister history out there. But Tywin is an amazing person to get his family where they are right now in the series, and I would not put it past Tywin to have sent a raven to Jaime to say, "I'm coming, stab that sucker in the back." Oh, look at Joe with his kitty. Okay, so we'll get into a little bit more with Ned Stark and Jaime as time goes on, hopefully. So off to the small council meeting, and Varys, who I immediately kind of like because he seems like one of the most bullshitty characters that's going to be on the show. He just seems like he can't say any. It's like, what color is the sky, Joe? It's an aquamarine. That I don't care what perspective you have. He just knows how to spin something really quickly. And we go to the small council meeting, and Ned's there, and Varys is the first one to greet him, and he says, "Sorry for the troubles you had on the road. We all pray for Joffrey's speedy recovery." And he said, and Ned goes, "Shouldn't we pray for the butcher's boy?" One of my favorite lines.
Yeah, what about the butcher's boy, huh?
Oh gosh.
Nobody's saying anything about that poor bastard.
Interesting. Darth Sandwich says, Mad King ordered Jaime to go to Casterly Rock and bring him Tywin's head. Interesting. And Ren says, yes, Aerys didn't start out as evil, but over time he degraded into mental illness, and killing him was the only way to get him off the throne. Yeah, and again, from when I've been reading a little bit in the Song of Fire and Ice book back there, yeah, he did not start off as mad.
He liked to go around fucking a lot of women too and having his way as king. So, maybe even had syphilis, some other venereal diseases and stuff. Probably a lot of inbred activity going on in his head.
I think you just touched upon it there. I think there is a history of, because of the inbred or because of whatever reason, there's a insanity gene in the Targaryen line somewhere. And it comes out, it doesn't always come out right away, but it comes out at times. That's just something to keep an eye on. I'm just going to say that. So funny stuff with Ned. Then Ned, and we were talking about this at the beginning of part 1, Ned goes and Renly and him embrace. They like, it's a big hug. We love each other. You could tell. I said this before, but Ned really loves this kid.
He's known Renly since he was a boy, and everybody really likes Renly. Renly is loved throughout the kingdom. He's a very charismatic young man. He spent a lot of times in different kingdoms here in the realm. So.
And it's also worth mentioning that not so much. It's hard to see in the show, but in the book it gets described that Renly looks like young Robert minus some of the muscles, but like when everyone says, "Oh, Robert was beautiful when he was younger," he probably looks more like the person that Ned remembers. He goes there and he's like, "Oh, Renly," and he sees Robert in him and sees the old Robert and just embraces him, and it's a great moment. And Renly says, "This could have waited. Sorry, I know you had a hard time on the road." And here we go. Here we fucking go. No, this couldn't have waited. This happened. This had to be now. I want to bang your wife. I mean, your wife must have mentioned you to me. I want to bang your wife. Yes, Lord Baelish. Your wife has told me about you, and I heard you met my brother too. Yes, I challenged him to a duel over your wife. Yeah, did I mention I want your wife? And he sliced me from navel to collarbone.
Yeah, and I bet it wasn't just navel to collarbone. I think it's from I think Baelish isn't being truthful about that. I think he gets cut from basically the collarbone down straight through his pekka. I think he gets mangled and mutilated a little bit in the process of this duel. And Brandon did this on purpose because it wasn't just a duel; it was a duel over Catelyn Stark, his betrothed at the time. So
and Ned
he should have killed him. He should have outright just killed him.
Yeah, and Ned gets into that a little bit, like, why'd you challenge my brother to a duel? That's just stupid. I wouldn't.
It was stupid. This was a guy that was much older, an accomplished fucking warrior, champion of tournaments, one of the best fighters in the kingdom, and Baelish was a little scrawny little, you know, bard type with his, poetry and words and brains in his head and not much else, barely even a lord, if not just a.
No, he wasn't. He built his house up completely.
Like he was like an orphan or some shit. I think if I remember correctly.
Created his own house. The Mockingbird is the sigil. He started. You got to give it to him for putting himself in the position. We're gonna definitely talk a lot more about Littlefinger as time goes on. But I mean, he seems like a slimy bastard, and he doesn't seem to be afraid to show it. In my first reactions, it's hard to talk too much about Littlefinger at this point without.
Well, he's the master of coin of King's Landing, which means he's got, he's on the small council of King's Landing. He's built himself up quite a little bit of wealth with his whorehouses all thrown.
Ghetto Toad says, Ned should have fucked up Littlefinger there and then. You want to fuck with my wife? You want to keep talking about my wife? And I kept writing that in my notes every time there's a Littlefinger scene. It's just, he's one of those guys that you go to a party with your girlfriend or your boyfriend, and the girl or the guy, some asshole girl or guy there is into them, and they just will flirt with them in front of you and they don't give a shit. That's Littlefinger. Littlefinger's just like right up to Ned's face. I challenged your brother to a duel and he's tougher than me for the hand of Catelyn Stark because I want to bang the shit out of her. Or I think he loves her. I keep saying bang, but I think he really.
I don't know if he still loves her at this point. I think whatever love he had for Catelyn Stark.
His obsession now. It's obsession, and it's that I get everything I want now. I built a house up from nothing, but the one fucking thing I have a whorehouse full of women I could have anytime I wanted that will do anything for me, but I can't have this one thing that I've never been.
And here, look at it like this too. He fought this duel with Bran Stark, the older brother of Ned, where he gets possibly mutilated and scarred and almost killed. And then Brendan Stark dies. So he must have been thinking, awesome, guess who I get to go, I win after all. He didn't kill me, and now she's free because he's dead. And what's she going to do? What her father wants her to do. Marry Ned Stark. Unite the north of the west with the whole north, and extend the and get troops for the rebellion and all this, rather than go marry Baelish.
Yep. And B-Trax says the actual line, what he says is, his answer is that he didn't choose his brother, he chose Catelyn Tully. And right there, if I was Ned, just being a prick that I am, I'd be like, her name isn't Tully anymore, asshole. It's Stark. Get it? She's with me. Fuck you. I mean, I'm insecure. But I'd be just like, what? Fuck you. Or if I was Ned Stark, I wouldn't be insecure. I'd remind Littlefinger that I'd keep reminding him what his brother did to him, and tell him to watch his step. And to jump a little bit ahead, Ned does eventually in this episode. Ned has enough of it at one point, and you're a funny man. You're a funny fucking man. He eventually is just, I'm done with you, you little shit. Don't take me into a...
Oh, he should have killed him right then and there, too. He would have been completely justified.
Oh, my gosh. B-Track says, I still believe at this point that he does still love Catelyn. If in the I can't have you, nobody will way.
Well, here's the thing. There's an old saying, if you love something, set it free. If it comes back, love it and cherish it forever. It doesn't, let it go. She didn't come back.
Yeah. Do you know who made that up, Joe? The Winners.
The Winners, yeah.
The Winners made that saying up. Okay, so then speaking of slimy pricks that I just don't trust and I want to punch in the fucking gut, Grand Maester Pyzal, he goes, Mr. Stark, how many years since I won't keep that up, it hurts my voice. How many years since I've seen you? You were a young man, kind of almost in a digging way. And then Ned, almost in a digging way back, goes, yes, and you served another king. And they kind of bullshit back and forth. I wrote, bullshit, they don't like each other. And then he hands him the hand of the king, goes, this is yours now, shall we start? And Ned goes, without Robert? And Renly does not pull any punches about Robert. He's the only one in this scene that does not pull punches about Robert. He goes, winter might be coming, but my brother isn't. And Varys starts to make excuses like, the king's very, very busy with hard work.
He's out whoring.
I know, but this is how Varys describes whoring. This is what I mean about Varys. This is Varys' description of whoring. He's out attaining to much more important matters. He lets us handle these small matters. And then Baelish, yeah, we're the lord of small things. This was just like a comic scene, like bam, 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 bam.
Yeah. B-Track says Ned was the worst choice for Ned to be Hand of the King. Absolutely, he has no court game. He's going to get himself killed. He's going to get other people killed. He's absolutely zero politics in him.
Oh my gosh, I gotta hold my tongue because so much I want to say in the future when we get to it. But I think you're right, Beatrax.
And it's so obvious right from the beginning that he's so honorable and so duty bound and so black and white when it comes to certain things that he is the absolute worst choice to be the Hand of the King. He's going to end up taking more heads and sending more people to the wall. He's going to end up being like a stain over King's Landing, even though he's such a good person. It's very, very strange choice, and I understand Robert's choice for it, but it's not. He wasn't thinking, and there's nobody else he could actually trust, aside from maybe Renly. But even that would probably be a bad choice.
Yeah. So Robert, this meeting is about Robert holding a tournament in Ned's honor for the hand as becoming Hand of the King.
The only worst choice. Sorry, there's only one worse choice for Hand of the King at this point, and that in my mind is Stannis.
We'll get into Stannis next season, but Stannis is also a member of the Small Council. He's just out on a mission right now, apparently. So Robert's he's the master of ships, Stannis. So Robert has ordered the holding of a tournament in the honor of Ned's appointment. Oh, Stannis. And to be Hand of the King, with 80,000 gold dragons as a purse altogether to like all the winners in the runners-up. Now, they say this might be difficult to arrange, but we can easily borrow money because 80 grand. What's 80 grand more? We owe Tywin $3 million, 3 million gold dragons. To which Ned goes, 3 million? We're in debt $3 million. There was a surplus. He doesn't say this, but there was a surplus when Robert took over. The Targaryens might have been crazy and inbred and all that sort of stuff, but they knew how to save money. So when Robert not only borrowed tons of money, he had lots of money to start off with. And he goes, we're $3 million in debt, and the Littlefinger goes, no, we're $6 million in debt. We borrowed $3 million from somewhere else we're not going to talk about for a couple of seasons. So as
only $3 million to the Lannisters, and then $3 million to some mysterious other place that we're in debt to.
That we'll find out about later. So Robert says, how could Robert let this happen? And Littlefinger says, the master of coin finds the money, the king and the hand spend it. And Ned's like, listen, Jon Arryn would never let this shit happen. Now, again, they all talk around it except for Renly, who says, Robert doesn't believe in that shit. He calls it counting coppers. They say that the king heard the advice of Jon Arryn. This Pyzel says this. The king heard the advice of Jon Arryn, but really just did whatever the fuck he wanted. Robert is not the sort of man that gives any shit about saving money. And Ned says, well, I'll have to put off the planning of this tournament until tomorrow. And they say, I don't think you're really going to have a chance. He's like, listen, I got to talk to Robert. And he goes, listen, assholes, I'm going to talk to Robert about this. And then he right away apologizes for being all salty. He's like, oh, I'm sorry, guys. It's been a long road. And they go, it's okay, Lord Stark. We can serve at your pleasure. Great scene watching Ned deal with the Small Council, and immediately this isn't going to be a good situation for Ned.
Not at all.
Ned Stark is a warrior, and I'd add he's also a commander and of people. He's a warden of the North. Wow, I said that word.
He's a soldier in his lord. Yeah, he does lead the whole North. So he does have this ability to lead people and be a good, fair leader, but this is a different role. Yeah, and things are done differently in the North than they are pretty much everywhere else. B-Track
says it perfect. I cut off the statement. Ned Stark is a warrior born and bred. They don't play these kind of games in Winterfell.
The lower lords do in Winterfell. Some of the other houses play these games amongst themselves, but the Starks themselves in Winterfell doesn't get too involved in it. they're kind of above the fray. They are
The Fray?
a bloodline back to the king of the North, the king of Winterfell,
No.
and everything back to the original Seven Kingdoms is their bloodline. So
Now, Renwood says Robert has lived the good life on the money. Yes, he has. Darth Norwood says Ned is a robot. A little bit. Ned has his way of doing things, and he's not very flexible at all. So I would plus one that statement that Ned, in some ways, has some robotic tendencies that he's just not very flexible. Ghetto Toad says, I think Littlefinger has been robbing the crown for some time. I bet he's got a good couple million stashed in the pillows. One thing's for sure, whether he is or he isn't, we'll have to see if that gets explored. Robert's not the type of guy that it would be difficult to do that from.
There is absolutely no doubt that Littlefinger's been robbing the kingdom. There's not only no doubt in my mind that he's been robbing the kingdom, I think he's been doing things like, because he's got such a big business and all these whorehouses, more than just one, they're spread throughout King's Landing and probably even throughout a bunch of the other cities. I think that with that, he's been able to secure loans from the kingdom and charge the interest and even attribute numbers in the books to loans that haven't taken place. So I think he's been padding the books. I think he's been robbing. I think he's put himself in a very comfortable position, and there's a lot of things that he can do to scam the kingdom without any oversight, and he's just the person to kind of do that. So
yeah, especially with a king like Robert, where
and you get that feeling just from the 30 seconds he's on screen, he's a slimy fuck. He runs a whorehouse, for Christ's sakes. Who puts the master, the pimp, in charge of the kingdom's finances? Like, the things he's willing to do to women, to people, that's a little bit ridiculous in my mind that he was able to get to that point. That there wasn't anybody else that could be trusted from other kingdoms, another Meister that's good in finances. There's a lot of things that just, to me, very strange. So
now you might know this better than me, or I'm putting this question out there. Was Littlefinger appointed by Robert, or is
he left over from Aemon?
Yeah, or not Aemon, Aerys.
Aerys. I'm not sure. I don't really remember from the books. I want to say he was probably appointed by Robert. He probably found Robert money, or Robert probably was a frequenter of his whorehouses or some shit, and was like, "Oh, look at you! You've built this business up. I know you from the old days when Brandon cut you in half. That kind of shit. You're my best friend. You're in love with my best friend's wife. Why not? It's an old familiar face. I think it was probably Robert, but I'm not sure."
Now, I'm having little problems with the comments, so if some of you guys are trying to get in and says like comments pending, I apologize. Ghetto Toad says being master of coin as well wouldn't be too difficult to just grab money, just walk in on it. Yeah, exactly. So here comes a very interesting scene that we go through. That's very funny and very, I think, important to understanding Cersei and this new character, or not this new character. Her son here, who really, I think I was talking about last week, that seems like he has a chance to be an okay guy. After this episode, I'm not too sure, Joe. This guy I'm questionable about him. So Cersei is tending the wounds of Joffrey, who that he got last episode for his interaction with Arya and Nymeria. Now, Joffrey, he thinks the scars are ugly. He's crying about it. Well, the scars are ugly. And Cersei says, well, you're a warrior. You bested the boy that messed with you, and you killed the wolf. Wait a second. I'm like, wait, did I rewound that a couple times? I'm like, wait a second. What did she say? Did she really say, is she really this fucking delusional of a human being? That she is. Unbelievable, Joe. Unbelievable that this person is allowed to have a child and influence her child this way. Holy shit! And basically, this scene, she gets into the fact that he's like, listen, I didn't do that. That's not what happened. And she goes, no. You're gonna be king one day. The truth is what you make it. And then she tells a story to try to back up her point that she's
basically making herself a little sociopath there, without a doubt. Like, it's pretty hardcore. She's basically saying, listen, you're going to be able to do whatever you want, no matter what, whenever. So don't worry about it, kid. Marry this bitch.
Yeah, and then the story she gives to back up her point is just ridiculous to me. That she thinks that this is the same thing. She's like, yeah, when your father was a rebel, they called him. We used to call him. What'd she say? They used to think he was
to call him the
usurper, not the usurper, the like the scumbag or something like that. And,
yeah,
or they
I
used to
forget.
call-
Robert's a rebellion. Yeah, a usurper and a rebellion.
Or a scoundrel or a traitor. But when Robert became king, he became a noble rebel, is what she says. And the truth is what you make it. Winners write the truth. And then he asks if he has to marry Sansa, and she says yes. But if you don't like her, you only have to see her on special occasions. And if you want to fuck painted whores, you can fuck painted whores. And if you want to fuck virgins, you can fuck virgins. You're my darling boy, Joe, and the world will be exactly as you want it. I love you, Joe. Anything you want. And then she tells her, just because Cersei's batshit crazy, and if this was Cersei's personality, she'd be like, I'm stealing this because I didn't say this. Wonderful person who does amazing videos on Game of Thrones, Comic Book Girl, made a quote that I want to say that Cersei thinks she's Tywin with tits, but she's not. She's just fucking stupid. And her mind works as quick as Tywin, but it always works to go to stupid places. And this is an example of it, where she's just feeding her kids with the wrong thing. Every lesson he could have learned here, she's completely fucking up.
She's absolutely reinforcing the wrong lessons and
oh God, I hate her. She's not
a very good mother. Well, and then here's the argument: is she not a good mother, or is she teaching this kid what he's going to need to know, kinda as king anyway, or is going to figure out? So, and she's teaching him lessons of how to play the game the way she plays the game, instead of, teaching him that it's not a fucking game.
Yeah, and then Joff gets into kind of talking about what he would do in the North. He says, I don't want to do anything nice for the Stark girl. We give the North too much power. They're beneath us. And Cersei kind of tests him and says, what would you do with the North? And he says, I'd tax them. Make them give me soldiers for a royal army. I'd take over Winterfell, put Uncle Kevin there. Be the ruler of the world. That's basically what he says.
Some of the things he says about wanting to create a royal his own army and not have to rely on lords to raise their armies to come to him when he says, and to fight these battles, but to conscript men for his own army. Some of that is kind of good thinking. We have national guards in each state, but for the most part, we have a regular army here
what
too.
The Emperor did in Star Wars. He wanted to create an army for the I don't know. Okay, I want to catch up on a couple of the comments. Darth Sandwich says, I think it's just that the North has been stuck to its old ways a little too much, and if the King's Landing in the 1700s, the North is somewhat in the 1600s.
No, they're about, I'd say probably 20 years behind, and then some of that maybe not even, because there's some good trading routes to Braavos and nearby cities that come off the north too. So, not necessarily. They're probably a little bit behind, but not too much behind.
Oh, Renwood, who is amazing. B-Trax also goes, it was probably after the Dragon Reign for sure, about when Littlefinger was named. Only Pycelle was remaining. But then he had B-Trax about Joffrey. He had 2 tiny puncture wounds. Oh my God. But Renwood saves the day as usual. Lysa convinced Robert to name Littlefinger to be Master of Coin for Robert. Robert's excesses have destabilized the kingdom, and she convinced for Littlefinger to step up, because she knew him as well when they were a kid, being Catelyn's sister. So let's continue. So Cersei says to Joffrey, listen, that's not going to work because the North can't be held by an outsider. It's too big, too vast, and when winter comes, no one can save your armies because they're all going to freeze to death. She says, you need to know how to placate your enemies and when to destroy them, which is actually a relatively smart point from Cersei. I bet she heard Tywin say this once. And Cersei agree, and then Joffrey says, so you agree that the Starks are our enemies. And she says what is a very important line to understand from the Lannisters' perspective, or from Cersei's perspective. Everyone who isn't us is our enemies.
Yep.
And then we get evil music cue. Dun, dun, dun. And Ghetto Toad says she's just fueling the crazy fire in him. I tend to agree with that. And as we were talking about having seen Joffrey in the first couple of episodes, I think any hope for him that, not that he wasn't crazy to begin with, he might be, but the lessons he could learn from someone like Tyrion slapping around when he needed to know that, the lesson he could have learned from that situation with Arya and her pup, he could have taken that and realized that he was being a dick and maybe been a better person. And he almost is at that spot where if Cersei had handled that a little differently and given him and been a different kind of parent, he might have learned something and not turned out to be a shithead like Viserys or something like that, which now it just looks like he's just going to turn into an entitled prick. We'll have to
yeah.
We'll have to see
there's been a lifetime of this from her. He is in his teens. This isn't a new type of conversation.
No, I just
maybe
mean
new subject matter, but definitely this is how this kid's been raised.
But
and Ren Redwood makes a good point. Like, with all the crazy that Joffrey shows and all the sniveling little, I'm the prince, what do I need to learn anything for? That was such, well thought out plan that he had. It makes you wonder if it was his own formulated plan or if it came from somewhere else. Very good point, Ren.
Very good point. I guess I just mean that not necessarily those specific situations. I think the show did a great job of showing you how, exactly what you were just saying, that's how his life is on an everyday basis. He's in situations where he could learn something, but because of his lack of parental figures that could actually teach him shit, he's just going to probably be a prick.
Well, I think he does learn stuff. I think he just learns.
The wrong thing?
There's the lesson that everybody hopes you'll learn. There's the lesson you don't learn. And then there's the way around it all that you can learn. And that's what Joffrey kind of sees. Joffrey sees his way around it as he's prince, and he doesn't need to, Okay, great. He sees the lesson. It just doesn't apply to him because he's going to be king and he's prince.
Steel Samus, I don't disagree with that statement, but we'll learn about that in the future. So Arya and Sansa are having breakfast. What's great about the chat room conversation is it disappears. It doesn't even hang out in the video, so it's just a cycle through. So I don't think we have any first timers watching right now. So here we go into our Arya and our Sansa scene having breakfast, and Arya stabbing the table and being antagonistic as hell. Looking at each other. Septa Mordain, I believe her name is, says, enough of that, young lady. Eat your food. And she says, I'm practicing. What are you practicing for? I'm practicing for the prince, because he's a liar and a coward, and he killed my friend. Sansa says, no, the hound killed him. The hound does what the prince says, and you're a liar, that if you told the truth, my friend would still be alive. And stop. And I gotta say, in this whole scene, I'm just gonna get through the scene and we'll talk about it. Ned comes in and says that the Scepter says Arya would rather act like a beast than a lady, and Ned asks her to go to her room. We'll talk later. Then, as for you, Sansa tries to give her a doll made by the same toy makers as Princess Marcel, and he sits down and tries to reason with her, but Sansa's obviously mad and sad and confused about what happened to Lady, and that's kind of what I want to talk about. I stopped playing with the doll since I was 8, she says in a real bitchy way, and she says, I want to be excused, leaves the table, and she doesn't eat anything, not even her lemon cakes. And Ned says it's okay to let her go, and Ned remarks that war is easier than daughters. What I want to say here is I give her a real hard time, And I feel so bad for her in this situation. I really feel bad for her.
Yeah, no, because
I feel bad what happened to her wolf. I just want to get it out. I feel horrible that her wolf suffered the brunt of it. I'm not one of these people that says she got what she deserved because she lied.
No. I feel bad for her wolf, and I feel bad for her that she lost her wolf. But you know what? That is kind of a very karmic response to what happened, because she was not willing to tell the truth. She did lie. She didn't stand up for what was right. She is so blinded by, I want the prince, and what I want is more important than anything else. And so she got what she wanted. She's going to get what she wants. She's going to, be careful of the things you wish for, sweetheart. Bad shit fucking happens. You want this fucking prince, and guess what this prince is going to make your life like? He's going to kill your fucking dog for no reason but to have something fucking killed.
Oh my god, the comment sections are great. Renwood, I'm sorry, I misspoke. Liza convinced Jon Arryn, who convinced Robert. So
yes. That makes yeah.
Liza convinced Robert Arryn, not Robert Barath. Oh, Robert Arryn, not.
So Liza has only been talked about at this point in the series. Liza is Catelyn's sister in the Vale. Robb Arryn, the dead Hand of the King, who Ned is replacing's wife. So,
is it Jon Arryn or is it
Viserys at 31 Flavors last night, and he made him Master of Coin.
Excuse me, I just want to be clear. Is it Jon Arryn or Robert Arryn?
It's Jon Arryn.
Jon Arryn, okay. I just want to be.
It's Robert Baratheon, Jon Arryn. Jon Arryn's son is Robin or
Robin.
Yeah.
Okay. It's I get confused. I personally get confused with the names on Game of Thrones, so I just want to be clear. So Darth Sandwich says the Sansa is the Jar Jar Binks of Game of Thrones. Misa hate my sister Arya. Misa very sad for lady.
Yeah, so
And wait. Steel Saber says, "Damn, she's not that bad." B-Track says, "When Lady died, so did the Stark and Sansa." And Darth Sandwich, yeah, but it's kind of her fault for the war. It's her lie that started Jar Jar giving power to Palpatine for the War of the Jedi. So Sansa started this conflict between the Starks, and that this little problem that's happening between.
Well, she definitely helped. No matter what her answer becomes in that situation.
Oh no, don't be sorry.
She's going to fuel the fire a little bit, but if she tells the truth, at least the dogs maybe survive, because one gets to run off and gets white fanged, and the other one doesn't get murdered because Joffrey's the one at fault here. But ultimately, you got to know that Cersei is going to find a way to not make it 100% Joffrey's fault and have the Starks punished or find misery in the situation somehow. That's Cersei's whole motive. Fuck you, Starks. Fuck you for having a woman that my husband is in love with. Fuck you all. And
Ren, no need to apologize. I love you. You do so much amazing work for us. God fucking hug you. And Dietrich, titles. Steel Sabus. Her lie didn't start anything. That shit was already in progress. Yeah. The problem. Very, very good point, Steel Sabus. Sansa just added a little bit extra gasoline onto the fire that was the Stark and Lannister problem. And so Ned then goes and sees Arya. Oh my God. This was another amazing scene between the two of them. She is so... I wrote some of the same notes I wrote for Bran in episode 1. Young Arya here is so goddamn cute. She's so goddamn cute in this scene, and she plays it so well. The actress, Maisie Williams, is that her name? You guys can correct me if I'm wrong. She just does an amazing job acting here and holding her own in a scene with Sean Bean here.
She's one of my two favorite actors and characters in the novels and in the series here. She's my favorite character, and the actor that plays her does such a great job. She definitely holds her own in every scene I've seen her in. There's very few that I'm like, in fact, I don't think there's been an Ari scene where I've been like, I don't like that scene. She didn't do a good job. She does a fantastic job. She's going to be a great actor.
She embodies Ari as much as Dinklage embodies Tyrion, and we haven't seen him yet, but that like Tywin and Ned Stark. She just owns her character so well.
And they did a great job casting this series for sure.
They absolutely.
They spared nothing. It definitely feels like they took their time and examined the work that George Martin put forth and chose very well on how they chose their actors to.
In 99% of the cases, only one I can think of. Then we'll talk about that in season 2.
Yeah.
So we'll definitely talk about that at length in season 2. So we see Arya playing with Needle, and she hears a knock on the door, and she just screams, "Get out of here!" And he says, "Listen, it's your father, who's the boss here." And he comes in. He goes, "Arya, let me in." She lets him in, and he finds her playing with the sword. And he says, "Whose sword is that?" She says, "It's mine. That's not a toy. Swords aren't a toy." She says, "It's not a toy." And then he looks at it and says, "A tongue twister." I forgot that this was a tongue twister. He goes, "I'm gonna try. Give me a break. Let me do it. I might mess it up. I know that Maker's Mark. It's Micken's work." Mark Micken.
That's Maker's Mark.
That's Maker's Mark. I know that. It's not a toy, and a lady shouldn't play with a sword. She says, "I'm not a lady, and it's not just a sword. It's called Needle." And he goes, "A blade with a name. That's good." And to be fair, not that it matters, Arya never sells Jon down the river here. She never mentions, "Well, Jon gave me the sword."
Nope, never sells him out.
Never
She doesn't say a thing about where she got the sword from. And I love Ned Stark. Ned Stark doesn't ask her past that, really. And he probably knows. He knows who gave her the sword. He knows how close Arya and Jon are. And he does such a great parenting moment here too.
Yeah, it really is. Great scene between the two of them. Steel Saber says, "Yes, Maisie Williams rocks too frickin' hard to be described. I hope she gets cast as Ellie for The Last of Us." Ooh, that would be great. Considering all the excellent casting that we've had recently for Game of Thrones members, seeing not that I'm too psyched about the movie, but seeing Daenerys cast in the Terminator movie, seeing Sansa cast in the X-Men movie coming up. Hopefully that theme will keep going, and we'll see Maisie Williams get some more work after this too, or after and during this. So he says, "Do you even know how to?" He says it's called Needle Blade, good with a name. And who do you want to skewer with this blade? Your sister? Again, for some reason, I just really love the way Ned Stark says that line. Now, who do you want to skewer with? I can't do it. I can't do the accent. But with the accent, who do you want to skewer with that blade? Your sister? Do you even know how to use it? And the cutest line of the series so far, and the one that gets said a lot.
And it's great that we get to hear it yet again. It's awesome.
Yeah, stick him with the point. I can't even do it like her. Yeah, stick him with the pointy end. Oh, I wrote in notes in big capital.
I do know what the first thing is. You stick him with the pointy end. And Ned just cracks up. He thinks it's awesome.
Well, that's the gist.
That's the truth. Okay.
And Arya goes into a kind of rant about how she's mad.
And okay, here's the thing. You know that line originally comes from Ned to like Jon and Rob when they were kids too.
That's probably the first thing that the sword master at Winterfell teaches them. As
right.
Like when Ned shows up to their first lesson and goes, I'm gonna give you your first lesson. Lesson 1, stick 'em with the point. It's probably a family thing. It's probably It doesn't get said, but it's probably a family joke that goes on. We go, yes, Ned is definitely the world's coolest dad in this scene. Ghetto Toad says, and I agree. We've gotten a bunch of them so far, and I hope we keep getting them throughout the series. Ned Stark as a dad is just an amazing father. Not just, even for this time, you look at where we live in the world right now, in America 2015, or in the world 2015. He's a good dad, but in this world, he is an exceptional fucking father. He is probably the best father in the Seven Kings.
Let's relate it to 2015 America. Where'd you get that Uzi, son or daughter? Do you even know the first thing about shooting guns? Yeah, point the.
Okay. So anyways, we go on. It's but what I'm saying is, in this world, being a good parent is not really something that's common.
Yes.
I know what you want to say. You want to say which world are we talking about, Phil?
You're right. So, and I think it's a lot more common but we definitely don't see it in this. And there's okay, maybe it's not that common. Like there's a lot of fucked up shit in this world.
Darth Sandwich. That's a really good one. Maisie Williams for Spider Girl for May Parker. That I think should be an awesome Spider Girl. So not a toy. Lady shouldn't play with a toy. So she's so damn cute. Arya's mad at Sansa for lying about it, but I think mostly she's mad at admitting that she does eventually. She feels guilty because she asked Micah to practice, so it was all basically she feels like it's her fault. And Ned also points out that Sansa, as Joffrey's future wife, must stand by him even when he's wrong, and you shouldn't call him a liar. And again, amazing Arya line. But he is a liar. and I just love how she says that. But no, wait, but he is a fucking liar.
Yep.
And Arya, not unreasonably, eventually in this scene, leads into asking Ned, then why are you having her marry a guy like this? We've both declared that we both think this kid's pretty much scum. Why? Does she really? And Ned gets into something that's important here. Ned doesn't really know how to answer that, but he says, "Listen, the winter's coming. What are our family?" Or he says,
"Only know in the long summer. You don't know what's ahead."
Winter is coming. Say our words. In the winter, we need to stick by our family, and there can't be a war in our family. We need each other. And he's going to leave, and she goes, "Can I keep the sword?" And he says, "Yes, but promise not to stab your sister." And that's... Someone said that. Get onto it, so that's his favorite line. Please try not to...
Yeah.
And Ned's kids could survive in The Walking Dead, Ren Redwood says, and Darth Sandwich says, not as good as Roose Bolton's. Steel Davis says, "Oh my God, how dark is that?" Arya is a Stark. He is a liar. Yeah. Or you are. She's like, "I am a Stark. He is a liar." Now, he kind of just eventually in the scene turns it around and concentrates on the sword. Yeah, exactly. Starks are so blunt and so honorable. And also something that Littlefinger says later, Starks, so big tempers and slow wits. You could argue as well. Honorable, but not the... Arya's one of the brighter ones. Arya and Bran are probably the two smartest Starks, I would say.
And here's the thing. For what her father says, we got to stick together. Winter is coming. Sansa didn't side with the family. She chose not to side with the family. So what happened? She was severed from the family symbolically by her wolf getting killed.
Someone said that in the comments. I might not have read it, but someone said it in the comments earlier that whatever Stark was inside, Sansa might have died in that moment.
Yeah, and from that moment on, Arya's kind of lost.
Mm-hmm.
When she doesn't quite get it. He's a fucking liar. She's a fucking liar. These are bad people. They killed the butcher. She doesn't get it. She's lost.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
She's too young to understand it all.
And Ned eventually, before he leaves and tells her she can keep the weapon, says, "If you're going to own a sword, you better know how to use it." And I don't know. That's going to come back later in the episode. So we go to a crow at Winterfell. I love this scene. Rewatching this was I enjoyed this scene almost even more than the first scene because of this monologue I'm about to get into a little bit here that I think is important and I want to read. The crow at Winterfell, old Nan says, "Don't listen to a crow, they're all liars," which I think is an awesome line. And then
that is a great line.
She says, "I know a story about crows." I hate your stories. I can tell you.
This is our first real taste of an old Nan story too. And she's a creepy old lady, and then she gets fucking dark.
I have the whole story here, and I love Bran's reaction, or her reaction to Bran being a bitch here. She goes, "I can tell you a little story. I can tell you a story about a boy that hates stories."
Yeah, I got a story for everything, kid. You don't know nightmares yet, sweetheart.
And here it is. And he says, "No, we like the scary ones." And she says, "Okay, here we go. Oh, my sweet summer child, what do you know of fear? Fear is for the winter, when the snow falls 100 feet deep, like we know here in Massachusetts.
Yep.
Fear is for the long night, when the sun hides for years, and the children are born and live and die all in darkness. That is the time for fear, my little lord, when the White Walkers, and right when he says White Walkers is when Bran looks up, move through the woods. Thousands of years ago, there came a night that lasted a generation. Kings froze to death in their castles, same as shepherds in their huts, and women smothered their babies rather than see them starve and wet, and felt their tears freeze on their cheek. So is this the sort of story you'd like to hear? He nods. In that darkness, the White Walkers came, swept through the cities and kingdoms, riding dead horses, hunting with pet spiders as big as hounds. And right as she's screaming, Robb enters and goes, "What are you telling him in this nice tone?" "Oh, just what the little master wants to hear." And Robb says, "She once told me that the sky is blue because we live in the eye of a blue-eyed monster named Macumbra." And Bran says, "Maybe we do." And they get into this whole thing where Bran doesn't remember what happened, and Robb says, "You're an amazing climber. How can you not remember what happened? There's no way you fell." Bran says he fell, and he says, "Is it true I'm never going to walk again? I'd rather be dead." Robb says, "Don't say that." He goes, "I'd rather be dead." Oh, great scene, especially by Bran. Not that Robb doesn't play it, but Old Nan and Bran kicks so much ass in this scene. That monologue by Old Nan is like Willy Wonka in the "Is it raining? Is it pouring? Is a hurricane a blowing?" It gets really creepy. And talk about, that's not the kind of babysitter you want, Joe, growing up, huh?
Oh yeah, it is. That's awesome. Yeah, welcome Katie to the room, everybody. Just woke up from her slumber.
Welcome, Katie. Here we go. I'm going to catch up with some of the comments. Steel Sabers about the Starks' quick tempers, slow minds. Renwood said something because we're on delay, and good point to you, Joe, about something that you made. So
I think that was about the correlation of Sansa and Arya being lost and separate from the family and crap.
B-Track says, "I love Arya's character development. You see everyone that comes in contact with her in her journey." I love everything that they're going to do with Arya. You were forgetting the clack, clack, clack. Yes, I did forget the clack, clack, clack. The old ladies is the shit. I loved all the scenes. All the old ladies in Game of Thrones are epic.
Yeah, they are. They're brilliant.
Darth Sandwich says, "Old Nan tells more stories than Alfred from The Dark Knight. I knew a man in the village, and I just burned the whole village down." What would a man do that for?
Makes you wonder what kind of old women George R. Martin had in his life as a kid.
And B-Track says, "Click, click, click of the needles. You should have been knitting." Yeah, absolutely. I should have been knitting.
Oh, yeah.
And Renwood says, "Poor Bran, he lost all hope and has come to the realization that this will be his life from now on." It's really sad that it seems like from this point on, Bran is just going to be an invalid laying in bed for the rest of his life, and it's very sad. So
no, I still think he has hope, and he's got his dreams, and yeah, he's got hope door.
I mean, we'll leave it at that because we don't want to jump too ahead, but he does. I think Katie said that perfectly. There is some hope door there. But whatever. Okay, so we go to Catelyn and Sir Roderick arriving at King's Landing. They talk about how it's been years since the last time that they were there, and they're kind of sneaking through a back way to avoid detection. But they're immediately found by some mounted guards that ask them, and by ask them say, "You should follow us, Lady Stark." And they go, "Well, we're not following you," and then they throw her a note.
How do you know who we are?
And then they throw her a note that she reads, and she just quickly, it cuts to her following them. So we go to the brothel where Littlefinger in his skivvies, oh, he's not in his skivvies, he's in like a leisure suit, Larry style.
And I'm sorry, but here's the thing. Littlefinger, master of coin, very rich guy, or at least seemingly rich. He probably spends as much as he saves in a manner. But, like, really, this is a huge insult, bringing her to the brothel. There's got to be other inns that he knows of, and it is the point. And the fact that she doesn't see it at all, she kind of sees it and says something, and I think Ned does too, but still, like, he deserves to get stabbed in the fucking face for that, period.
Ned sees it 1,000% more if we jump
Right,
ahead.
and he knew enough that the guards had to be there at that time, and he still didn't have the decency to like not be having whores all naked and be like half disrobed himself when she got there.
It was a comedy scene here. So she shows up to the brothel and she greets him by throwing the note in his face. You little worm! And you take me for some back alley Sally? I just love that line. You take me for some back alley Sally? And right there, she says the back alley Sally line. 2 naked girls, as Joe was just hinting at, come in as like they were coming in expecting to go into a room to deal with a Jon there or something, and he claps for them to leave. And it was just one of those funny comedic scenes where they slide in and then they just slide out. It's really funny. It's hilarious. And he says he thought this would be the last place that anyone would look for her, but he says he also has a guest. It's Lord Varys who comes out, and he's happy to see her and goes, your poor hands. And then he goes, did you bring the knife? Which she looks kind of surprised. And he says, I have birds everywhere, even in the north. They whisper to me the craziest things, stories of knowledge, and knowledge is my trade.
It would have been great to hear Varys say something like, I had much better arrangements for you than this, you know. So, he should have made, and it would have been so Varys and Baelish because they have this animosity for him to make some sort of even if he didn't know until like 5 minutes ago that she was showing up, he should have made a comment like, I had even better accommodations picked out for you, sweetheart. But
I know, but he would have, Varys isn't the type to do it straight out. He'd have to do it in a way that makes it seem like he was complimenting Lord Baelish, like some line about, we have to thank Lord Baelish for giving us such a great surrounding, or something to that effect. Like, thank for giving us such...
It wouldn't have been as entertaining, but maybe would have offered you more peace or something like that.
Right, so something to that effect. Or maybe he agrees with Littlefinger's assessment that this is the last place anyone will look for Catelyn Stark.
No, it's absolutely a bad assessment. Because people, they may not know who she looks like, but it won't take much for them to know that there's some sort of lady staying there, and word to get out, and that's pretty fucking scandalous.
So he asks about the blade, and even though she's furious about the locale, you can tell she's still pissed off. Varys checks out the dagger but can't identify it, says it's very beautiful. Littlefinger says it's a historic day because something you don't know that I do know. The one person in all the 7 kingdoms had a knife like this, and it's mine. Or it used to be mine before I lost a bet on the Kingslayer in a joust to the Knight of the Flowers from its owner, Tyrion Lannister.
Right. And he says it all very smugly, too. Especially because of what the knife has just been through. He says it all very, very smugly, that the knife originated with him, too, and that he knows who it was. And it just all comes out really sly and snotty.
Very good point by Renwood, too. I think that's a big part of it, too, and with Ned as well. Littlefinger loves that the tables have turned and that Cat is going to have to eat whatever he feeds her, essentially. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It's a power trip as well. Without a fucking shadow.
Well, here's the thing. As far as that being the safest place, yes, because prostitutes have notoriously silent mouths when they talk about things. And when
Joe, in fairness, prostitutes usually have things in their mouth, so they're probably...
Well, no, because when Lord so-and-so comes for a visit and she says, I have something you might find interesting if you want to give me an extra gold dragon, and, Catelyn Stark is living in the room down the hall.
Maybe. We'll see how that pans out in the future. So we go over to the wall, and Tyrion, my friend Lannister, is at the wall watching Jon Snow, who is raised in a castle, spitting on the likes of you trash, is training with Pip and Ren, and he says this is where we meet Sir Alistair Thorne, who's trading, and he's going, everyone attack Ned Stark's bastard, does he bleed? And we see kind of a training session, and to be quite honest, it's not a
training session, it's an attack Jon session. It's an insult Jon. He calls him Lord Snow, Lord Bastard, basically, but rather than calling him Jon, or,
But Jon just whoops some serious fucking ass, and just like Bruce Lee's all these.
One after the other, he knocks them all on the ground, or bloody noses them, black and blues them. He definitely holds his own.
And in fairness, he says Thorne does say, "You are the most useless person here, or the least useless person here, Jon Snow."
Right.
So
yeah, and that's
a
pretty
compliment
much
from him.
the best he's ever going to get out of Thorne, and you kind of get that feeling too. Lord Thorne doesn't like him at all. Alistair is a rich little privileged boy who's trying to vacation and make a name for himself at the Wall or something.
Yeah, Thorne, him saying you're the least useless person there, Thorne seems like the type of guy that is like him giving a French kiss to somebody.
He's still calling him useless too. He's not saying you're not useless. You're the least useless. So out of all the useless people, I might ask you to do something useless first.
Ghetto Toad says, just to go back for a second, from everything that we can see in this episode, which I agree with this point, later it seems like maybe we might be able to trust him. We'll see about that. It points to Littlefinger being a shitty little fucker. And,
right down to his voice. Right down to his voice.
Can you do the Littlefinger voice? It's
no, I cannot do the Littlefinger voice.
That, like, in a little more
that was more like book on
Littlefinger voice. I am just a shitty little finger. I stick my little finger in your shitty hole.
You also have to breathe really heavy. So at the same time, Tyrion's kind of trading barbs with someone else that we're meeting here, Sir Jorah Mormont's father, Sir. What's Lord Mormont's first name? This Mormont's first name? The old bear he's called, from Bear Island. Jorah Mormont that we met in the last couple of episodes. That's over there with Daenerys. This is his father, who's the Lord Commander of the Night's Watch. They talk about Tyrion,
who just gave up his throne. He wasn't like ousted. He gave up his seat, and I'm not exactly sure why. Comments will tell us, I'm sure, but he gave up his throne and took the black and left it to ends up being his daughter, I think, is in charge.
B-Track says Alistair is an asshole about it to Jon, but he was trying to teach him a lesson about how different you are from everyone around you. Yeah, I agree, but Tyrion teaches him the lesson better later.
Well, there's no doubt he knows for sure he's different than everybody else around him.
No,
and he says it, I think, in like his next scene. He says,
but he doesn't get it. This is what I'm saying is Thorne's trying to teach him the same lesson that Tyrion ends up teaching him.
Says it straight out.
He just says it straight out to him.
Right.
Thorne's kind of trying to teach him through whatever. So I think that's a good point, B-Track.
Right. And Thorne, and I think, for the most part, Thorne, yeah. Kind of shithead he is, he's still kind of like, I don't know. He's a man of the black. He's a hard-ass, tough love teacher, kind of. Yeah, none of a lot more shit. Like, he's a big shithead, too.
Yeah.
None of you are funny except for that one guy. So he says, he also says, I'm sure Peter Baelish is just a... Sabet says, yeah, I'm sure Peter Baelish is just a misunderstood and actually stand-up guy. I tend to agree. I'm leaning towards you. I think he might be okay. And, Darth Stanwich does, yeah, it totally was almost like a Private Pile. How tall are you, Private Pile?
Oh yeah, he's completely private piling them.
What is
He's gonna make him clean the latrines with his frickin' toothbrush shortly too, no doubt.
And Joe, look in the comment room.
Those latrines are something else. Those are frozen. You're gonna be scrubbing at that ice cube for a while.
Joe, look in the chat room and pronounce the Mormont's name.
Jur?
What?
Jor?
Okay, so that's his name.
No, we were trying to think of what the dad's name was.
Yeah,
We couldn't.
I know.
Is it the
So Mormont also mentions, he talks about he doesn't need him to be an efficient trainer, he just needs him to whip him into shape, to which Tyrion asks, how's that going? And he says, not very well. And Mormont also mentions that a raven's arrived from Jon from Winterfell, and Tyrion asks if it's good or bad news, to which Mormont responds, both. So then we go over to Pycelle approaching Ned, being slimy and weird. Oh, I forgot to give you this note from Winterfell about Bran awakening.
Yeah, I don't know how to pronounce it. It is Jeor. Jeor. Jeor.
Mage Mormont is actually the head of House Mormont over on Bear Island, which is in the north and is Is it near the Iron Islands, Bear Island? Could you show
Bear
me?
Island is north of the island. Here, if we look over at the map behind me, ha ha ha.
Yay! Sorry, people listening
You
to the
can
audio.
see
version.
that this is the Iron Islands down here, just at the Twins, and all the way up here, way at the wall.
Oh, okay, so it's not near the island.
Is where, and it does kind of looks like a par or an upside down horseshoe. Right up there by the wall is Bear Island.
Okay, so it's nowhere near the Iron Island.
So it's a good distance. It's a good
It's
like
north.
300 miles north, 400 miles north.
So it's an island, clearly in the
more
north.
than that, like 1,300 miles. If this is what 300 miles, then this is quite certainly much further than 300.
So where is King's Landing in retrospect to Winterfell? There,
Say again?
King's Landing to Winterfell there,
Yeah,
because we know that's about a month.
yeah, it's about that distance.
Okay, so
But
say,
it's by boat too, so
2 weeks from boat, probably something like that,
maybe less,
maybe less.
maybe more.
Okay, so Bran's being slimy, Pyzelle's being slimy, and he gives Ned Stark the note from Winterfell about Bran awakening, the same note that Jon Snow got. That seems like all the Starks got that aren't at Winterfell. Littlefinger comes in right behind the situation, is like, ooh, that's a nice note. Would you like to tell your wife about this? Again, just to go right there, I hit him there. You gotta hit him there. The way he just brings it up, it's like, what are you gonna tell me? Fuck my wife? I mean, what do you? I don't know. Again, it was just weird how he says it. Should you tell your wife about that? Ned says my wife's in Winterfell, and Littlefinger just exits. Oh, is she? And Ned follows him until he realizes that they're going to a whorehouse. To which we talked about this earlier. Ned grabs him by the neck, puts him up against a wall, finally, and says, "You're a funny man. You're a funny fucking man." And he's about to choke him out when Cat kind of calls from the window and says, "Stop!" And he runs inside, and Littlefinger does an aside to the camera that we've mentioned a couple of times. Stark's quick tempers, small brain.
Yeah.
So this is the scene that we were just talking about Jon. Jon gets to the guys whose ass he kicked.
Okay, so I wanna just hold on one second to the chat room for a moment. So Georg Mormont is the bear that's at the wall. I think he has a sister, Magie Mormont.
Yeah,
and she has like 4 daughters, and of those 4 daughters, one of them has a daughter and a son. So and Magie Mormont is who is the lady of Bear Island at the moment. She's in charge of Bear Island.
Yeah, that's what Ren was saying.
So this is all. I was about to say this is all from Ren Redwood, and he's right. Points out that Longclaw probably should have been left with Magie on the island, but he took it with him to the wall. So and that Longclaw is the sword that
Giant sword.
This is a little bit of a spoiler. I probably should have said. Is the house's Valyrian steel sword
Right.
that they have that's very old and very rare and a really nice blade. And but J.R. has it with him.
Yes. All right. Good job there treading around spoilers, Joe. I love you. So, thank you for all the information and help, Renwood. And Steel Saber says, man, even a Westeros geography lesson in this podcast. Much appreciated for the hard work. Joe's got the perfect. Joe changes his background every episode for The Walking Dead or Game of Thrones. We have the Westeros map, and we can thank Joe. We'll always have him doing geography lessons as much as we can to show you guys perspective. It's pretty cool that we have that there. So Jon, he's getting his ass kicked or getting kind of threatened by the guys whose asses he kicked, and he's talking shit. And Jon has a mouth on him too. He's not as much of a wise ass.
Yeah, he doesn't realize exactly how much trouble he's in. Like, he thinks he's just talking with the guys like it was just a training lesson. Everybody should be cool now.
Yeah, I broke your nose. You look
pretty.
pretty.
We beat each other up and then drank afterwards.
Yeah, it's just a hockey
We're
fight.
brothers, right?
It's a hockey fight.
Right, it's a hockey team, or it's locker room shit that should be about to happen. Yeah, we'll talk a little bit of shit, but ultimately, that's where it should end. But he doesn't realize he's in a place with all these fucking murderers, rapers, thieves, kidnappers.
People use the recruiters' propaganda.
Right,
The military propaganda.
Right, there's some bit of that, and then but the most part, all the real people know that it's the thieves and rapists that get empty. The jail cells get emptied, and they all get sent there. It's also
most of the people at the wall at this point are people from the King's Landing.
Right. It's not like it used to be where people would send their people to the wall to protect against the danger. Now it's it's been a lot of years since the White Walkers, since people had to worry about this. Nobody wants to go there. It's hell. It's a frozen hell so they send all the prisoners there. The prisoners man the walls.
The people like Benjen that go there to fight for honor are few and far between.
Right, Uncle Benjen is there, and like Katie said, all the Starks for years. There's always been a Stark at the wall. Someone goes there to man the wall from the Stark family. So
Toad says they're about to get all 50 Shades of John, beat the shit 50 Shades of John in that scene. Yeah, they tie him up.
Right after, and so instead of just like some locker room shit talk. There's some locker room shit talk, and then they attack him. They grab him, they throw him up against the rack, they put a knife to his throat. They're about to gut him. And
they show him that no matter how tough he can be with a sword, we can grab you in the middle of the night and and cut your throat out.
Right.
And they're about to actually do it. And as Steel Saber says, I fucking love Peter Dinklage in this scene. He comes right in and he goes, "Oh, what are you guys doing?" And they go, "What do you want, Half Man?" And he goes, "What I want is your faces. I want to look at your faces. You have such
very distinguishable faces."
Yes, and I will have to tell my sister, the queen, the one that's married to the king, because your heads are so pretty that we should get them to decorate King's Landing on spikes. Oh, that's pretty nice, huh? And then they just leave Jon alone. And Jon thanks Tyrion.
Well, I'm surprised out of those kids, none of them are like, "Oh, Jesus, the next 40, 50 years of my life is going to be here. I might as well just kill them both."
A lot of those people chose the wall, as we find out in a second, wall.
Over death, before they knew what the wall was and going to be. Now they've had a taste of it for at least a little bit, a few days, a week or something.
Still better than death. Still better.
There'd be a lot of people who would be willing to argue that with you.
Yeah, I'm gonna say it's still better.
That is definitely one of the versions of hell.
So Tyrion saves his ass, and then he thanks Tyrion for being the one person, even his father, that let him go there to rot, that tell him the truth of what this wall really was.
And nobody.
And then Tyrion's so amazing in this scene. Peter Dinklage, fucking incredible. He tells him a story, and he kind of embraces almost Tyrion's the reason why to gives these people some sort of connection with each other. He starts telling Jon the stories of the other guys in the room. One was abandoned by his father. Another stole food because he hadn't eaten in 2 weeks. And Jon, being kind of ignorant but just being like frustrated, says they hate me because I'm better. And Tyrion, I'm paraphrasing here, says, "Come on, listen, dude. You were raised in a fucking castle with a real swords master. You think any of these motherfuckers ever even held a sword before? Come on, dude. They came here same as you. They have nothing else. Oh, and by the way, Bran is woken up." And again, as we were talking about earlier, right away you can just see the look in Jon's eyes. He realizes that he's been showing off a little bit, and he's being he's being a little bit of a dick. He instigated this a little bit. He could be helping these guys.
Yeah. Steel Sabi says Jaime kind of warned him about the wall too. He warned him. He said, and he told him that he was going to be with a bunch of rapists and thieves. I think.
Absolutely. These Lannisters, these horrible people,
like him being a douche, like him just talking shit about the Black because of, like Katie says, all of the propaganda that House Stark mans the wall, and Brendan is there, my brother, and Ned's brother's there, and it's a proud tradition and all this shit, and it's been there for thousands of years, and this is a noble cause and all that crap, that it does. Jaime just comes off like being a fucking douchebag.
Yep, absolutely. But really what it comes down to is the only two people to tell him the truth were the two Lannisters.
Yep.
The evil Lannisters. They're the only ones to give Jon a chance to second guess what he was doing.
Jon's chance. Like, Jon hasn't taken the fucking Black yet. He can mount up and say, that's stupid. Why am I staying here? These are not noble people. This isn't a noble cause. I'm here with a bunch of very bad, awful people. You know, I should go somewhere else. Maybe listen to what Jaime said. Go to King's Landing and try to become a Kingsguard or something like that instead.
Yeah. In fairness, Jon probably thinks in his mind he doesn't have anywhere to go. So speaking of King's Landing, we do go back to King's Landing next, and Ned, Catelyn, and Littlefinger are, talking about their plan. Catelyn very naively is like, we have proof. We can just tell everybody. We know. We have this knife. And Littlefinger says, you can't do that. That's treason. That's just stupid. You can't do that. You can't just come out and accuse the Queen's brother. Do you know who Cersei is? You just can't. She hates him, but you can't do that. And it's treason. And Littlefinger and Ned goes, then what do we do? And Catelyn...
Did Ned already get to the house? When did we talk about?
We talked about that a while ago.
Oh.
And remember, Ned had Littlefinger up against the wall. I know it gets confusing because we talked.
Yeah, I remember we touched on it, but I didn't think that actually happened yet.
Yes, we did. So Ned says, Catelyn's like, you need to trust Littlefinger. You need to. He's my friend. He'll never betray me. And and he says with the slimy smile, that yes, I'll try to keep you alive. A fool's errand it is, but I never could refuse your wife. You know, I want to bang your wife. And the whole scene, as Catelyn is smiling like she really believes him and she appreciates everything he's saying. Ned is looking at him. You can't really completely see him. He's sort of to the right side of the frame. But he is giving Baelish these, I don't trust you, you little scumbag, I should have choked you outside look. I just think he's like, okay, I guess I need to trust you.
Catelyn has to step up, like Katie says it right in front of Peter Baelish. She completely friend zones him yet again for probably the umpteenth times. And even worse than friend zoned. We can trust him, he's like a brother to me, right? Completely like, it doesn't matter that he wants to fuck me, Ned. He'll never be able to do it. He's always been loyal, and there's no reason not to believe him now.
Probably the only way to stop Ned from shanking Baelish
and that's true, too. And that's true, too.
Shaming him like that right in front of him.
Yeah, poor Baelish. I feel bad for the guy. But anyways, he says not to tell anyone that he's his friend, but he'll do what he can. So we cut over to Cersei bitching to Jaime about how could you do this? How could you do this? Oh, what the hell? Oh my God! What a duplicitous fucking motherfucker this Cersei is. Yeah. If you looked up, I'm stealing an Eddie Murphy joke. If you looked up duplicitous in the dictionary, there would be a picture of Cersei like which is a big smile on her face. She is so ridiculous. She's trying to push this all onto Jaime. Is that what she's trying to do here?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Now, Jaime's not concerned, and he's used to this because he knows what kind of person his sister is. In fact, he chooses her and is having sex with her. So he says, what, you're afraid you can't outfox a 10-year-old? And she says, what about Robert? Robert, whatever, I'll go to war with Robert if I have to. He's not going to tell anything, and if he does, and if he finds out, I'll go to war with him, and they can write ballads about us. You know, the war over Cersei's cunt.
Yeah.
Oh, poetic.
Yeah, he always waxes poetic there on her.
Darth Sandwich with the amazing one-liners. That's amazing. Maybe they should change his name after that scene to Middlefinger.
Yeah, pretty much.
Neil Sabat says the scene between the three of them still makes my skin crawl. I agree. I think it's almost. I've never seen someone so blatantly disrespect someone like Ned Stark in front of him, and he has to sit there and take it.
Let's talk about Littlefinger's name too. Like it's like that alone is insulting. You know that they call him Littlefinger. He's from the fingers over here, and he's such a small guy that they call him Littlefinger. Plus, he probably had he's like a runt of a very small, runty kid, and he probably had his pecker near cut off by Brandon Stark.
Or
so there's also, just by his name alone, when instead of calling him Peter or Lord Baelish, they call him, whenever he's called Littlefinger, it's an insult to him.
Not even finger.
Littlefinger, right? So, yeah. So there's very little respect for this guy to begin with.
And that makes it even more creepy that Littlefinger wants to bang his theoretical sister. And I think
Yes, it does, Ghetto Toad. It absolutely does.
I agree. Oh my God, I just think Littlefinger is so obvious about it, but it's very interesting that Catelyn has the friend zone blinders on to what's really going on in some ways. So Cersei, back to Cersei and Jaime here.
Doesn't even begin to think about Peter Baelish as scorned.
No, not even a little
whatsoever.
Him as no threat.
Zero threat. My first betrothed almost killed him. Ned could certainly kill him. He's harmless. He's always had a crush on me. I've got him wrapped around my little finger. You know, she completely is blind to this snidey little fucking shit that this guy is, and completely, stops Ned from cutting out this cancer right then and there. Yeah, exactly.
Big Kev says, I used to hate Jaime so much, but now he's my favorite character. It's so weird, and I think that's what we were talking about earlier. Jaime's one of those characters that's just you love to hate him, then you hate to love him. He's just
one of the few characters that George R. Martin wrote that has actual growth to the character throughout the story. Arya does, Bran kinda does, Jaime definitely does, and Tyrion does too. Pretty much everybody else stays themselves throughout the story, and there's not too much growth that we see.
But that's a very good example of real human life. I mean, some people grow, some people don't. It has a lot to do with who you are as a person and what you have that you think your way is the best way.
How you respond to the world around you.
Right.
Exactly.
And like for all that Jon goes through, he pretty much his character is pretty solid of a character. He learns some things and there is some growth, but there's no real very deviation from who he is as a person.
Fundamental core
to his fun. He's already grown. He's an 18-year-old kid. He's pretty much already he's a grown man for all intents and purposes now.
I still think he has a character arc. I think it's a different.
Yes, he has a character arc and he has a story arc and there is some growth and he does learn things. Like Jon Snow goes from knowing nothing, to knowing two things, and that's a great funny meme. But
he maintains that Stark integrity. He's very much like Ned.
Right.
That basic Stark integrity.
He maintains a trunk of character, and although he learns things, his character is very much the same.
Yeah, it's all built upon that
right.
basis, not that changing up.
Whereas like Jaime, he's a very specific person at the start of the story, and that might not be the case by the end.
We'll see. So the war over Cersei.
It may be the case at the end because the story's not finished yet. But
right,
as well.
right, Joe. So the war for Cersei's cunt, which is very important. I just want to keep saying that. I want to hear the song.
Yeah, you love that word.
Yes, Cersei. I do love the word Cersei. So the boy won't talk, and if he does talk, he'll kill Ned Stark. This is probably as creepy as Jaime gets. He says, "I'll kill Ned Stark. I'll kill all of them till it's just you and me." And we're the last ones left in the world.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then they bone. B-Track says, on your point, Jon learns to accept himself, not really grow, but grew up. Yeah, I agree. And I think I agree with what you're saying, too. I think growing up and changing as the character is different than whether they have a character arc and a story. That's two completely different things, but I tend to agree that not a lot of the characters deviate from who they are and learn and change. We'll have to see someone like Jaime how this world affects him, and I think he has the capability for change.
There's some characters are forced to change at the hand of others, like Theon, who goes through a very big.
Blah.
Sorry. So no specifics, but
nothing. Let's not talk about Theon right now.
I'm not. That's it. But then there's others who choose to change, like Jaime.
Like Arya. Making conscious choices along the way.
Okay, let's move on before we
spoil too much or give anything away.
So we're already treading a little bit on that. So Steel Saber says there's growth in Dany so far, or until she hits her stride. Not sure if there'll be much more as of now. Yeah, there's definitely so much since she started to develop with.
Since she detached from the rapes.
Right. She's becoming more of a person, and we see that in this episode, her becoming queen. Yeah, sorry to jump on the Theon stuff. That's just so thick with so much. So Ned and Catelyn on so many levels, like his cock. Okay, spoiler alert. What Joe was going to say. Theon has
No. There's no need to. Let's keep going.
No, he has a big cock.
Specifics. Hello, spoiler.
He has a big cock. That's known. We see his cock this season. That's a spoiler. We see him naked fucking a whore. So Ned and Catelyn share a tender farewell about how the Lannisters are our enemies.
That seems so unlike HBO. Are you sure that happens?
I'm a spoiler alert. We haven't had a lot of it so far. There's a lot of sex scenes later this scene with the character Roz. I do want to spoil that a little bit. Roz gets naked more, and we see Theon's dick. So she loves how Littlefinger is. Catelyn shares a tender farewell. They talk about how Littlefinger will help him get the proof he needs, and if he gets the proof, he'll go to Robert and hope he is the man he still knows. He tells her, be careful of that big temper, and she's like, dude, you almost choked out Littlefinger yesterday. A very beautiful moment between the Starks, and they kiss and say goodbye, and it's a very, very heart-filled moment between the two Starks.
And showing of their bond.
It's an important showing of their bond and of their love.
And Ghetto Toad points out that for the Dany stuff, which we haven't talked about yet, but we get the feeling about that at the beginning of her interaction.
And it's worth it to point out that this is an asterisk moment.
Jorah has helped Dany a lot. What do you mean an asterisk moment?
Well, we'll get to that. Isn't this like...
Footnote refer
No, in this
episode, footnote moment. That's all.
In this episode, we hear Dany talking to Jorah, so it is safe to say that she did help her along her way of helping her adjust to this world and learn how to be a Khaleesi. So we go to my favorite scene of the night, Mark Addy as King Robert having a discussion with Sir Barristan about how it's been a long time, but they still remember every face. It sounds like they're talking about something else until Barristan talks about like a lance through the heart and did not know his name. And Robert says they start talking about their first person that they killed. Now, Robert says it was some Tarly boy, high-born, dumb lad, as Joe said. Let's put an asterisk on Tarly boy. Dumb, high-born lad that thought he could end the rebellion with one slice. He says he took one look at me, and I was strong then, and I slammed him down. And before I finished him, he said, wait. And this is the line that I really love. He says, they never tell you they all shit themselves. They never put that in the songs.
Yep.
Oh, I love Robert.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird scene too. Like what's he reminiscing? He's like reminiscing his glory days of killing some poor boy on the Trident, like out of anger and violence, and he's boasting to Barristan Selmy, somebody that's probably killed as many, if not more, people than him.
Yeah.
Like and he's taking joy in like the murder and the rebellion and all that. He loved it. He loved it. He relished it. He relished the killing and the blood. He was a warrior. And I guess this serves a point for us to know that about him, that he's not just this, he's a bloodthirsty man as well.
He's like an Al Bundy of medieval times, because he keeps harkening back to his old glory days on the field, where he wishes it, like where he peaked.
Remember that game I scored 4 touchdowns?
Seriously.
That one game I scored 4 touchdowns.
Now he just sits on the couch, sticks his
At
hand
Polkai.
in his pants, and drinks beer.
I wonder
Only Al loves his family.
I wonder if
Bottom
Barristan
line is
never.
Al would do anything for his family.
I wonder if Barristan ever faced Robert in battle, like when Robert was at his strongest. Because I know Barristan fought for the Targaryens, so I'm just curious if they ever were ever on the battlefield together, against each other.
They might have been in tournaments against each other. I don't know if they were ever in battle against each other straight out, because Barristan was a Kingsguard and most likely would have been with the king.
Yeah, but as Ghetto Toad says, very, very great scene with Robert, very believable. And then we meet how.
It's interesting to point out too that there might be in the history of the rebellion, there might be some sort of responsibility felt by Barristan for the whole rebellion to begin.
Yeah. Well, we don't have to get too far into that, but I know exactly what you're talking about, having to do with the tournament. Steel Saber says, "I wish I could have seen Robert's warhammer mounted on a wall somewhere or whatever." Yeah, that would have been really cool to see that Robert honored his warhammer. He seems like the type of guy that he has a trophy room. And Beatrix says, "Robert wasn't raised to be the king. He was raised as much as a warrior, like Ned. He had two warriors as hands of king." He had two warriors as hands of the king. Interesting. So Robert, this scene is really awesome too, because Robert, again, you see that he does. I think this is more the way Mark Addy plays him too. He has this sense of humanity to him, and about how they never tell them they shit themselves. They don't put that in the songs. And now the Tarly boys bend the knees like everybody else. He could have lingered at the edge of the battle like the smart boys, and his family would make him miserable, and he would piss into a bowl. More wine. So. We're also introduced to Lancel Lannister, a squire from Robert.
And Lassie Lannister.
Lassie Lannister. Who named you? Some half-wit with a stutter?
Yep.
Fucking Lannisters. I'm surrounded by Lannisters. Every time I close my eyes, I see their blonde hair and their smug faces.
Burns its image into my retinas. Yeah. It's like the floaty, you shut your eyes and you still see like the wig outline of their hair just floating in the dark.
Now get in here, Kingslayer. We're talking about war stories. Who was your first kill, not counting old men? One of the Brotherhood. And Barristan says, "I was there too. You were only a squire, 16 years old." Jaime says, "You killed." I was there too. You killed, or I remember you killed Simon Toyne with a counter move, best move I ever saw. Good fighter, Toyne, but lacked the stamina, as Barristan jokes. And you get a feeling that's just a little hint to what Barristan not only was one of the most talented, there are people that maybe even as talented, but Barristan was just so skilled, so practiced that he would wait you out. That guy probably did really well at first, but Barristan just tired him out by defense, and then killed him.
Also interesting to note that in Barristan's head, he has a file on everybody he's ever fought, most likely. Yeah. He remembers exactly how they fought, like he studies them as he fights them.
Looks for their fight time.
Exactly, there's a reason why he is head of the King's Guard.
There's a reason why he's one of the only people in the Seven Kingdoms that Jaime Lannister is legitimately afraid to face in combat.
I think everybody in the kingdom, as old as he may be, he's never lost a fight, because if he had, he'd be dead.
Right. He's the one you don't want to fuck with. He's like he could be so old, but he's still like Mr. Miyagi or like Splinter or something. Like he's gonna.
And as far as tournaments go, there are reasons to not win in tournaments as much as there are reasons to win in tournaments.
Little Lassie Lannister looked so out of place in that room. Yeah, he did. He looked more like
he looked like a little baby too. He's like young. He's like 16 years old, 15, 16-year-old kid. Like he's not an old. Like he's a little squire. He's a line boy. He's a cupbearer for the king. That's it.
Steel Saber says it's nice to see a Lannister get grifted once and shit on for once. And yeah, it really is. And I think that's probably out of all the things Robert enjoys about being king, I think shitting on Lannisters is probably close to the top of his list.
Well, let's also be fair too. Just because he's a Lannister doesn't mean he's a bad person. This isn't one of Tywin's kids. This is, I think, Tywin's sister's kids.
Yeah, he's a nephew. Not all
or Tywin's brother's kids or something.
But they're all smug and a little douchey. They're all smug. So Jaime Lannister comes in, as we said, and he says, "Oh, it must make you feel so crappy that you have to man the doors as like a nothing while your king eats and sleeps and shits and fucks." And so he goes.
Nothing like making one of your best warriors and protectors feel like an absolute piece of fucking shit for doing the job he's sworn to do for you.
So Jaime says
your brother-in-law.
Jaime says the person that he killed was some outlaw, and Robert asks him if he had any last words. We're talking last words. Jaime says, I cut his head off, so no. And then Robert quickly changes it to Aerys Targaryen, and he goes, what about the Mad King? What did he say when you stabbed him in the back? I never asked. Did he call you traitor? Did he plead for a reprieve? And Jaime said, he said the same thing he's been saying for hours.
This is my favorite line. This is my favorite line.
You want to say it, Joe? What do you say?
No. You can say it. I wanted to say that before you finished the line. Like the way he delivers this.
No, say it.
After taking the jabs from the king about basically winning the throne for him. Robert did all this stuff and won the throne for himself, but ultimately Jaime didn't follow the orders of the Mad King, which is what he's saying right at this moment, and because of that, Robert has this kingdom to rule over and this Iron Throne to sit in, and yet still he's treated like this. So when he says this line, you really feel, and again, like all the shit he's taken from Ned, from Robert, from everybody, the nickname he has of Kingslayer, and nobody really fully fucking understands that the Mad King was this mad. Like, he didn't just kill all these people, the fathers and sons in the throne room. He was going to burn down the entire King's Landing. He had it set to fucking blow, and for hours he had been mumbling in Jaime's ear, burn it. Burn them all. Burn them all. Set the fucking bomb off. It's over. Burn them all. That's all that he kept saying. Burn them all.
Burn them all.
The way Jaime sums it up, I love the look on his face, and it's that moment that I think as an audience we really get to feel for Jaime's plight, in spite of throwing Catelyn's fucking son and Ned's son out the window. There's some sense of humanity there and conscience there in him, right?
Absolutely.
And you get the feeling that it was more than just Tywin needed him to kill the guy. It was more than just all of it. And he tries to put that across to Ed too in their first interaction in the throne room when he sees him sitting on the stairs in this episode. And we get Jaime making this plea over and over again. Nobody really quite fucking understands that this guy was going to burn the fucking kingdom down.
He had committed so many atrocities up to that point.
And
he was about to kill
he was about to kill 20, 30,000 people in one swoop. Innocent people, innocent peasants and shop owners and mothers and children.
Yeah, burn them all, Joe. Burn them to the fucking ground.
So sorry about that.
No, that's okay. Good description of the line. I like that. I was having fun.
And yeah, Steel Sable, Robert's reaction to that, and Barristan's reaction. I don't know if they actually show Barristan's. I just maybe imagine it, but their faces are they kind of understand the gravity at that moment. That maybe I shouldn't be giving him such a hard fucking time.
Absolutely.
Like his face is yeah.
But Steel Saber says Robert's face was priceless after Jaime answered him. It was strangely satisfying for me, considering I hate Jaime at this point.
Correct.
And Robert says Ren Redwood says Robert loves Lannister gold, but resents what he has to pay to get it. 100%. I think you could say that about the throne. I think in some ways, Robert, and I think they explore this a lot more in the book, Robert would be happy if he could just still be fighting that rebellion. Not that he didn't want his revenge for what happened to his future wife, but he definitely wishes there was constantly still a war to be fought to keep himself relevant. And also, Robert kind of gives him a stare down, but Joe was talking about this, about the point that Jaime was trying to get across to Ned in the throne room. I think what Ned didn't hear, Robert did hear. He'll never give Jaime the satisfaction, but he fucking heard what Jaime said there. And as it's been pointed out by a couple people, the look on Robert's face was like, you know what? I still fucking hate you, you blonde-haired person. But you did the right thing. Almost you did the right thing.
Right, because his last words were, as he was stabbing him in the back, were actually still not like, how could you do that? Not A2 Brute, A2 Jaime, or whatever. It was, burn them. It was still, burn them all, burn it down. It was, as he was dying, he was still burn it all.
Joe, did you just say A2 Jaime? I love that. I want that on a t-shirt. So with a picture of Jaime's sword through the back of the Mad King, and just that right on top, that'd be beautiful. We might have the first Issues Program T-shirt. So
Copyright.
Copyright,
yeah, all that stuff.
So, or if anyone wants to make that, for all means, make that. So, after this scene, we go to, last episode and the episode before, I was a little hard on some of the Daenerys stuff. I enjoy the Daenerys stuff in this episode. Just to be completely honest, I actually enjoyed her scenes in this episode, or everything that happened here. So the Khalasars traveling through the Dothraki Sea, which essentially is just an endless plain of grass, and Daenerys is listening. I talked about this earlier. She's listening to Jorah tell her just about Dothraki slave stuff, and you can see, as we were mentioning, kind of helping her along the process. He's being a key advisor for her.
This is a great scene because this shows. This is where Dany realizes. She realizes beforehand that she's going to make the best of her marriage, and she's going to try to be what this Khaleesi thing is. But she doesn't understand what that is until this scene. Mm-hmm. This is where she realizes things are no longer the same.
Yeah.
Things have changed, and she's no longer who she was.
Adapt or die at this point.
Right. Like she detached herself in the last episode, but she didn't fully grasp the scope of what she was stepping into or about to embrace. And this is where she kind of gets it. And just from like the very start of it, like the first thing she says, stop the column or something.
She says that once she tells them to stop whipping the slaves because she sees them whipping the slaves, and she says stop, tell them to stop. For how long? Well, forever. Just tell them to stop.
I'm just telling. Yeah, it like Jorah's like the whole column. This is 40,000, 100,000 men or something. Like this, his troops. I think they start at like 40 or 60, and they swell by the time they get to where they're going because they just raid the whole way, fucking to wherever they're going. But like, right? So, like Jorah's like, really? You're telling me to stop everybody moving? Like that's a huge command. And it's a small command in Dany's eyes, but it's really a very big command. And Jorah kind of points that out with the question. But ultimately, they all stop.
It's also very important to mention that she's also asking them to stop whipping the slaves.
Right.
Something that's very important to her as well. And we learn more about the Dothraki in this scene, too, that the Dothraki don't believe in money, that when they go into a city, that the city gives them slaves as tribute, depending on how they feel about the slaves. If the women aren't attractive enough,
so that they don't get, so that when the horde shows up at the door, you give them gifts or they take, and if you don't give properly, they may take anyway. So when the horde shows up, you send all your slaves out, all the poor people, your pretty girls, gold. You pay them tribute, or you get slaughtered.
Right, and Ren would say she's starting with small steps on the size of limited power that she has. Yeah, she's starting to learn what power she has as she tells everyone to stop. And she commands them to go as she's going to enjoy, kind of like this. She just wants to enjoy the grassland. She sees kind of like a pretty area she wants to walk through. So she's walking through, just enjoying the moment, enjoying the fact that she has a position of power for the first time, as Jorah mentions that you're acting like a queen before she steps off, and she says, no, I'm starting to feel like a Khaleesi. Yes. And she's over enjoying the plains, and as she's just relaxing, out of nowhere comes our favorite dickhead, Viserys.
Who the fuck are you, bitch, to give me orders? I am Viserys. I am the fucking dragon. I am the true king. You don't give me orders. We stop when I say we stop. He doesn't like, what the fuck you doing? Yeah. I'm your older brother. You listen to me. I don't listen to you.
I'm the dragon.
I'm the fucking dragon.
I'm the dragon. You don't want to unleash the dragon. I'm the dragon. And then he pulls out what is probably, I gotta say, one of the cooler swords we've seen so far. He does pull out a really cool sword, and he puts it up to her neck and goes, "Listen, you're about to." So it looks like something. who are you to give orders to me? I'm the king, as Joe said.
Jorah's face is priceless in these, like,
Yeah. And then I just want to put in one more because we missed one of Viserys' lines here, so I want to make sure I say all the important ones. He said, "I don't take orders from savages or their horse."
Yep.
Ooh, okay, dude, come on.
And that shows you exactly, like, adapt or die. He's not going to adapt at all, the beggar king.
Yeah, as Ghetto Toad says, in about a second here, we're about to see the actual moment that Dany realizes she's more powerful than her brother.
Yep.
The enormity of
And here we go.
And to get to he is gonna. I don't believe that is Ghost Grass Ren. I think that's still very, 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 very far away and past the lands of Ashai, and that the ghost grass is starting to take over the plains. It's still a long way away from coming to there.
So it looks like he's about to do something
like elephant grass or something.
He's about to do something really bad with his awesome blade. When I'm going to mispronounce this guy's name, but I have it, Ruckaharo, but one of our Dothraki that we're meeting that's in Daenerys' main group, pulls out his whip and goes all Indiana Jones and like whips.
That's a long ass whip too. That is a big
awesome move too. Right around the neck and just slams him to the ground and says, "Khaleesi, should I take his ear for insolence?" And
she begs him not to harm her brother. And she doesn't even have to beg. She should be commanding, but she still doesn't quite understand it at that moment. She's
Joe, that's what happens. She first begs, and then she turns around. She immediately goes, "Oh, please let him go." And then they look at her like, "What the fuck?" And then she goes, "I command you not to hurt my brother."
And that's when it kind of sets in.
And then they both look at each other. The translator, Irie, I think her name is, and Ricardo look at each other like, "Really? You want him to be let go?" And they suggest.
And the first thing he says is he starts screaming, and he orders Jorah, and he says, "I'm your king. You kill her or them right this minute. Take his head or something like that right this minute." And Jorah just sits there and then looks at Khaleesi and says, "So, shall we be on our way?"
Yeah. You just want to think Jorah wants to say to him first before he says that, "Dude, know your company." Khaleesi?
Right. Yeah. When in Rome, dude, you are not the fucking...
Dude, shut up. Come on. Yeah, come on, man. Look what's going on here. Read the...
if I pull my sword, you realize they're all going to kill us both.
Yeah, read the elephant grass here. Come on, buddy. I'm not even in armor right now.
I know, right? Oh, he's in like half armor.
But he's not like
his
full
breastplate, I think.
Yeah, they would, and he's on
or is he in leather? I don't even know.
But anyways, he's not prepared to fight. You see, spoiler alert, Jorah. You see him prepared. When he fights, he goes in full armor.
Yeah, he can fight.
Yeah, he can fight. He is a fighter. He is a knight. He has been trained by Master at Arms and Lords.
He can fight, but when
or Bear Island or wherever.
But when he chooses to fight, he fights in full armor. So. Right. So Viserys goes to fall on and get on his horse, but no, they take away his horse, and as someone said in the chat room, I missed it. Viserys is gonna have a nice walk.
As B-Track says, they made him a walker. and it's interesting to put out that only the slaves walk.
Yep.
In the column, only the slaves, only the absolute lowest of low walk while they're going anywhere. If you're not on a horse, you're a piece of shit, you're a slave, you're a nobody in the Dothraki customs and culture. So they're making him walk. They're making, you want to treat the queen that way, you remember one thing, you're a piece of shit here. You are nobody. You're
nobody. You're less than a piece of shit.
Dealing with the temper tantrum.
Yep, and it is a good way of dealing with. We don't have to take his ear, we'll just make him walk. And it's interesting, if they did take his ear, he'd be on a horseback right now, but he'd just be earless.
Yeah.
He wouldn't be shamed like he is. Like he's being.
But he's gonna get into some really good shape. Like he's gonna have some like amazing thighs by the end of that walk.
Every once in a while.
As Katie says, this is one of those every once in a while moments where George gives you some satisfaction.
yeah, and he gives you some major satisfaction in that moment, seeing this guy get a little bit of comeuppance for his treatment of Daenerys. So we go over to Jon Snow.
As B-Track says, you're not a man if you're not on a horse.
It's true, especially in this world. And we go to Jon Snow, who's taking the lift up to the wall to meet his uncle Benjen at the top. We get to look off the top of the wall for the first time. Benjen, who's the first ranger of the Night's Watch, is going to ride out over the wall the other side of the wall for 30 days to investigate some of the disturbances connected to the first episode that we saw with what we saw, the first thing we saw in the first episode with the stuff with the White Walkers and stuff. Now Jon wants to go with them, but Jon
heard about. Jon heard the confessions of the.
Right, Jon heard the confessions. Jon wants to go with them, but he's not even. He's talking to the first Ranger. He's not talking to his uncle anymore.
He hasn't even taken the oath yet, and Benjen points this all out to him. You're not even a knight. You're not a Ranger. You're not even a member of the Black yet. So no, you're not coming with me. Kid.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just reading some of the chat room. It's fucking.
Oh, I thought you froze again. I thought we lost you for a second.
Oh no! I'm just reading the hilarious stuff that's going on in the slaver beggar.
The chat room horde.
Yeah,
gotcha.
I love the horde going on in the chat room right now. So Jon hasn't even taken his vows yet. We talked about that. So here we go to another one of my favorite scenes of the episode. Tyrion is fucking amazing in this scene, and so is Yoren, and so is Benjen when he comes in. These three are really great. Seeing Tyrion interact with the straight man Stark is just very funny, and it's just very funny because Benjen is he's got a little bit more sass than Ned. So he'll give it back to.
Well, he was the third brother in the line.
Right.
There was no chance he was ever going to be Lord. No, Ned's middle child.
Well, yeah,
he's the young child. He's the younger. He's Cindy Brady. So, and he just I don't know. He does the honorable thing. What they've always talked about, the shit that Jon got himself sucked into, and goes and takes the Black.
Right. Absolutely.
I think he was probably a little older than Jon. He probably. Maybe a little bit wiser in that respect as to what the wall was.
Yeah, but, he can keep up with Tyrion's bullshit better than some. He seems a little bit more. I don't know, a little bit more of some kind of bullshit detecting mind than Ned Stark. Just a little bit like he's been the little brother, so he watched a lot, and it's interesting. I agree. He has a lot more of Jon in him, and I like Benjen a lot. I hope we get a lot more of Benjen.
Yeah, he's been hardened by the wall now too, so he's.
Any respect he might have had at one point.
Plump, yeah. To save plump little lords like this. So basically Tyrion's making friends with Yoren, who's a recruiter who goes basically around all the Seven Kingdoms to get willing candidates, willing people in dungeons that will join the wall. So they're talking about like being in rough times. He's saying, I ate bear's balls once, and Tyrion's like, oh, how did bear's balls taste? And he goes, oh, they tasted chewy. And then he goes to Tyrion, my lord Tyrion, what's the strangest thing you ever ate? And Tyrion goes, did Dornish girls count? I fucking love Tyrion. He's just amazing. And he says that his next trip is going to be down to King's Landing, is what Yoren says. So Benjen comes in, he wanders in, and Tyrion's kind of making a joke about the Night's Watch, and he goes, you think we're a joke imp? You think we're a bunch of jesters in black? And Tyrion says, well, there's not an army of jesters in black, Benjen says. And Tyrion goes, well, there's not enough of you to be an army. And none of you are funny except for Yoren, so I don't know. And Tyrion's just kind of goading him a little bit, but trying to be somewhat respectful for Tyrion.
Right.
And Benjen goes on and keeps things dark. He's like, half the boys you see here will die fighting so you can drink your wine, and they'll all die in pain so a plump lord like you can enjoy your summers down south.
Right, and here's where the hardened factor comes in, because when Benjen was at this tournament, Harrenhal tournament, and during all the fun and festivities, there was a black guy there, a knight from the black, or whatever you want to call it, man from the black, whatever a brother, whatever, and he basically is, talking shit about the wall and how great it is and how honorable it is to be there and all this shit. And how they need men, and he's basically trying to recruit, and more than just take fucking prisoners or whatever, but actually recruit. And Benjen that's when Benjen buys into it, and he takes and he goes with them, and he takes the black just before the rebellion and everything.
Right. So.
And remember, he's the youngest of the Stark brothers. He's even younger than the Stark sister. He's the youngest of the four. He's probably very young. He's probably like 14. At the time, when he does this, maybe. No, Lyanna's older. Lyanna's Ned's younger sister, but
older than
Benjen's
older
older
than Benjen.
sister.
So then they get into it a little bit, and Tyrion, after the whole plump comment, as Tyrion goes, do you think he turns to Yoren and he goes, do you think I'm plump or do I look plump? And Renwood says the Starks are such a buzzkill, and yeah, exactly. Get over to say the points. Starks really are a buzzkill. You don't invite them to parties.
No.
And Tyrion goes again. Do you think I look plump? And he goes, Benjen, can I call you Benjen? And
They're
Benjen,
who you hire for security for your party. That's what
Yeah.
you hire the Starks.
he says, Benjen, can I call you Benjen? And Benjen's like, I don't care what you call me. Okay, Benjen, I have great admiration for you in the Wall. But listen, Benjen interrupts me. He goes, listen, my brother, and I wonder which brother, if he's talking about Ned or Brandon. He says, my brher once told me anything a man says after but means shit. He says, but he believes that the wildlings aren't as dangerous as the next man. The only difference between us and the wildlings are that they grew up on the wrong side of the Wall, and he just doesn't.
And he's absolutely, and he's right. And he's right.
No, and Benjen says, I just don't believe in the White Walkers. Benjen agrees and says the wildlings are the same as us, but you've never been north of the Wall. Don't tell me what else is out there.
Right. And that's true too, and then there's always ghost stories, haunted forests, all this fairies, like that's in every culture, and they're not out of that yet, and that kind of shit still persists today in our world. So, if you believe in gods, why wouldn't you believe in this shit?
Now, Joe, did you know that winter was coming? Apparently,
Yeah.
Winter's definitely coming. How many winters have you seen, Joe? Do you know that the longest summers are longer than the winter? Winter is coming.
A very long winter to me.
That's all that you invite a Stark to the party. That I'd like to see almost a family skit. That's like inviting a Stark to a party, and then it cuts off to a Stark just sitting in a corner saying, "Winter is coming. We're all going to die."
Yeah.
Now, if you're going to invite anybody to your party, you're inviting fucking Tyrion Lannister.
Yeah, you're inviting the Lannisters. The Lannisters are bringing the Lannisters.
I'm not inviting the Lannisters. I'm inviting Tyrion Lannister.
And spoiler
Jamie
alert.
would party, but he's a big fucking dick. He's going to be in the corner just being a dick. And then he's going to challenge you to a fight by the end of the night. And you can't beat Jaime fucking Lannister in a fight. So you don't invite Jaime Lannister to the party because he's going to be a big fucking dick. You invite Tyrion, sure. Tyrion will be a dick, but at least you're not going to have to fight him at the end of the night. And he is a brother that knows how to party. And he might pick up the tab.
Yeah, Tyrion's going to buy the booze. Yeah, at least Tyrion's going to buy the booze. I have a feeling we might meet characters in the future that would be fun. Joe, I have a feeling we might meet characters in the future from down south in Dorne that might be fun to hang out with too, and we'll leave it at that.
Oh yeah. You invite some Dorne. You invite some other people.
Yeah, you hang out in Dorne. You're having a good time. So Benjen says that the wild.
That's where you hold your party. You let them host your party.
Let Tyrion host a party in Dorne.
No. Tyrion's invited to the party that's hosted. Your venue is in Dorne.
It's Vegas.
Right? You got the Starks working security at your venue in Dorne.
With
all right?
Tyrion
is like a guest of honor, maybe, of the party.
Or party coordinator. He brings the party favors or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's the party coordinator. He's the one that rented the venue. He knows enough to rent the venue in Dorne and hire the Starks as security for your party.
Joe, remember what happens in Dorne stays in Dorne.
Yeah, and he knows enough also to hire Baelish for entertainment.
Yeah, exactly. So he says Benjen says goodbye to his brother from the Night's Watch, and he says he's going below, which essentially means going below into the tunnel and out the other side of the wall. Now Tyrion jokes, I think Benjen's starting to like me. It's fucking Tyrion. And Tyrion makes plans to accompany Yoren on his pilgrimage down south to Winterfell and then to King's Landing. And Yoren says, I like to travel real dirty, and he goes, not with me. No one will refuse Lannister gold, and we're going to travel high on the road. So I'm looking forward to see these two's adventure down to King's Landing. So as we go back over to the Dothraki Sea, we see Daenerys finding
something that I wish was explored more.
Well, no, let's hope it gets explored more in more episodes.
Yes.
Let's hope that happens.
That's what I said, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. I think
something which I hope gets explored more.
I think that's what you said. Sorry, I'm having way too good of a time. So at the Dothraki Sea, actually I'm not. This is amazing. I love talking about this goddamn show. So we're at the Dothraki Sea. I'm sorry. Side note. This show really is my favorite show on television. I just love talking about this fucking program. I could just talk about this show for hours and hours, as we are. We're on like just passing into hour 2 here.
And it's 20 minutes beforehand.
Yeah, it's 20 minutes before. Yeah, we're at 2 hour and 20 minute point talking about this episode, and I feel like we've missed stuff. So anyway, so the Dothraki Sea.
I feel like we've missed the season premiere.
Yeah. So we see Daenerys finding out that she's pregnant. Ultimately, she's learning how to speak Dothraki, and one of her maidens just grabs her boob, just gives her the uncomfortable. Whoa, what are you doing? Oh, how long before you bleed, Khaleesi? 2 months since you bleed? It's a blessing from the Great Stallion. Is the Great Stallion Rocky Balboa? Is that who they're talking about?
Yep.
Is he the great? Is that who it is? So
the Great Stallion who will mount Philadelphia.
Mount Philadelphia. That's Rocky Balboa. I just want to make sure we're clear on that. So when Jorah hears about this, because one of the Dothraki women come in, and we get a really funny scene with the Dothraki male and female interacting, and Dothraki kind of just yelling at each other back and forth about what the Khaleesi can eat. And she doesn't want horse, she doesn't want dog, or I don't think she'll want dog. So ultimately, Jorah, when he finds out she's pregnant, says he'll have the boys prepare her a goat. And then he says, I need to ride to Quoar, I believe it's called, for the night. I'll catch up with the horde. They're not hard to find. So Jorah takes off, which is kind of shady. I don't know why he needed to take off so quick when he found out she was pregnant. Does he have some sort of special home remedy to handle morning sickness that he's trying to do to help her? I mean, that seems like probably the case.
It's also pretty strange. Like they're like somewhere in the fucking Dothraki Sea, and like they are pretty far away from a lot of places where he can do anything really with this information. So you have to figure there's other people in this horde that are also helping him that will be able to get away for a period of time to get messages out, or that are carrying his homing pigeon cage or some shit. Like there's got to be some sort of network that's set up here for. I think I'm spoiling stuff.
Yeah, you're not, but that's what I'm saying. That's what I was saying, Joe. I don't know what you're talking about. I think he's probably just going some sort of trying to get her a gift of some kind for her pregnancy.
Oh, right. Baby shower gift.
That's what I'm guessing. It doesn't seem like anything weird's up or anything. I mean, I see what you're saying, that it could be a possibility of something like that, but in my mind, I really do think this guy's on the level, and he's probably like, who knows? Like I said, his mom might have some ancient Westerosian pregnancy cure that's going to help her stomach settle or something. That's what I think. Joe, that's okay.
I'm only human, like we said at the beginning.
We're only human. We're trying our best. This is over hour 2.5. So we also see Dany and Drogo cuddling, and they're sharing a moment of real intimacy where she tells him that she's sure her baby is a boy. She can feel it, and you can see their relationship really developing into, again, we talked about this last week, into like a real romance. There's definitely some romantic thing, happening here. It's becoming a great romance, and it's making me feel all warm. I
enjoyed her getting a little dominant in bed. He knows that she's a young girl, that they come from different cultures and places, very exotic. And I think he's starting to understand a little bit more of her and what she's been through in life and stuff a little bit.
He sees that she can be a true queen. She has that in her.
Yep.
And she's not just some girl that he's going to be dragging around.
And he saw that too right from the start, right from the presentation. Like they said, if he was disappointed with what he saw, we would know it. We wouldn't be asking the question about it.
So then we go back to Castle Black, where Jon is sparring with Gren and Pip again. But this time he's teaching them, not just beating their asses into the ground. Tyrion observes him from the distance with the approval of, like, you got my point. And we get, like, the wink. Like, if this was a Saturday morning cartoon, that would be, like, when the episode ends with Tyrion winking, like, dun-dun-dun-dun-dun, Jon learned a lesson today. But Jon totally learned a lesson today.
Yep.
And we talked about character growth versus people changing. This was a character growth moment for Jon, realizing that he is special, that maybe when he's around Robb his whole life, He needs to try so hard just to be noticed all the time and all the time show himself. But in this world, he can serve himself better being holding back.
He's got an interesting viewpoint, too, because although he's a lord's son, he is also a bastard and was treated as such by Catelyn his whole life.
Absolutely. So he has that built in here because of like Catelyn beating that into him his whole life. But by the way, guys, we highly suggest you guys communicating through private messages. We like when our friends from the show become friends. So please, if you want to continue spoiler discussion through messages, I highly encourage that behavior. Renwood says, like, I wonder how
many deaths there are in a baby shower for the Dothraki.
Yeah, how many is an honorable Dothraki baby shower? How many deaths happen? You have to kill babies? You have to kill babies at a Dothraki?
Your baby will be considered a dull warrior if there aren't at least 6 deaths at its baby shower.
You guys in the chat room, Ghetto to a B-Tracks, Renwood, Steel Savis. Thank you guys for keeping this even more fun than it already is. You guys are really great. I'm looking over to the chat room and just cracking up every once in a while. Sorry, as we continue down here. Then we have Tyrion go into a room where Lord Commander Mormont's there, and we also meet an amazing character right away. I love this guy, and we'll talk more about him later. Hopefully he'll be on the show more, so I don't want to talk too much about him now. His name is Maester Aemon, I think it was.
Yep, Maester Aemon.
Aemon? No, I'm kidding.
Old man.
Kidding. I know his name.
So it's the Maester clan.
So Maester Aemon, who amazingly seems to have the ability to be creepy and warm and loving at the same way. Like, I want to give him a hug, and I'm scared of him because he's a creepy old man. But he reports that the days are getting shorter, and Mormont reports that the wildlings are fleeing south of the wall, claiming they've seen the White Walkers, and both are really concerned about the future, and it starts getting intense. If the Night's Watch is to repel the White Walkers, they're going to need thousands of men. We have less than that, and we can't even man all the castles. Most of the men are too young, and they're rapists and they're killers, or they're old men who are tired and just done, and they beg Tyrion to plead their case in court. It's just an intense scene, especially from the way this actor that plays Maester Aemon plays it. He's just intense, like, crazy.
It paints a very grim picture for the future, too.
Really does. It really does. That seems dark, and again, I hope we get to see more of that character because I really love that guy Aemon. He's just I love the actor playing him, and I love that one little bit we got to see with him tonight. I hope we get to see.
Well, it definitely seems as though in this show that the roles of Meisters in various locations are pretty large. It's a very well established. Like, there's one in Winterfell, there's one in King's Landing, there's one here up at the Wall. I got a feeling this is not a small role.
Yep, absolutely. And B-Track says he's insightful while being blind and very eerie. Yeah, he is. He is, and I believe, if I'm not talking, the actor.
He's got Lionel's sight beyond sight.
The actor itself is blind too, correct? The actor playing the character is blind?
Let's go ahead and say absolutely. He's also only got one testicle.
I don't know that for a fact. I could be incorrect. If he's not really blind, then fuck me, he's playing it exceptionally well. So,
and if he is blind, he's still playing it exceptionally well.
Yeah, very interesting.
I'm both intrigued, creeped out, want to hear more, sit down by a fire with this guy, maybe have a glass of wine. You know, he definitely seems is a very interesting character.
Whether he's really blind or not, in my imagination, I'm going to pretend he's really blind. So way to go, actor.
He is not blind in real life.
Okay, I'm an idiot.
But he does only have one testicle.
He does only have one testicle. That's reported. You heard it here first. Joe Dirty Luck says this guy only has one testicle.
And it will be up to him to prove he doesn't. I do not have to prove he does.
And Aemon has evidence that winter is coming. Yes, he knows it because he knows all. He's pretty much. But okay, so now that we know that actor isn't really blind, he plays blind so exceptionally well.
Really, and I don't know if he has only one testicle.
Okay. We'll say yes. So finally, Tyrion says his farewell to Jon, who asks him to give.
Let me see that again.
He says if he's stopping at Winterfell, to give Bran his love, and Tyrion departs for Winterfell to King's Landing, and he wishes him well in the Night's Watch, and it's a really good interaction between those two, and I feel like maybe it was really fun watching through the first 3 episodes their relationship change over what was a long period of time in the show, but wasn't long in our minds, just being 3 episodes. But their relationship really developed into something cool, a level of mutual respect for each other because of the bastard dwarf thing, and just because of a sense of respect that Jon Snow gives Tyrion for being one of the 2 people. He doesn't give Jaime the same respect, but being one of the people that most told him what the truth was about the Wall. He really, I think, that binded them together on that final level and made him realize that Tyrion was a pretty good dude at heart. So then we get to our final scene of the episode. Oh my gosh, Joe, we made it to the final scene of the episode. Can you believe it? I don't even know. Oh, the final scene of the episode is an Arya scene, who arrives at the hall of the Tower of the Hand to find, oh God, I love this guy, a very eccentric man that you could see almost I just love this character, playing with almost like a vaguely Italian accent, but with 2 wooden swords, dropping it, throwing her the sword as she drops it, calling himself a dancer master, Syrio Forel, and begins to tutor her in the way of water dancing, sword fighting in the Bravos way. He says, "Listen, boy, you are a sword, not an axe, not a whatever. I'm not a boy. I'm a girl. Boy, girl, it doesn't matter. You're a sword. That's all you are to me." And she says, "I'm a needle." And it's just a really cute, awesome scene with the 2 of them. And Arya's getting her ass kicked a little bit through it, and you're seeing how good this guy is. He's barely trying and just knocking her all over the place. But she seems like she's never in her life had more of a good time than she's having right now.
Yep. I love this scene. I love this character, Syrio Forel.
Unbelievable. Such an amazing character. And I can't wait to see lots more of these scenes between the 2.
Water dancer from Bravos. And this harkens back to the scene we have with Arya and her father, Ned, when he sees that she's got Needle, and shows just how good of a father he is to her, because he also knows that this is something, she's good with a bow. She proved that in episode 1. She is a tomboy. He knows his daughter, and if she's going to be playing with swords and have a sword, she better damn well know how to fucking use the sword.
Absolutely.
So he's going to give her lessons, and he knows that no matter what, because he's seen it before in his sister, who was a very wolfy girl, that she'll continue with this no matter what he says.
Absolutely. I
forgot to encourage her further.
Excellent point, Joker. I forgot to mention that in the first scene that we had with Ned and Arya earlier in the episode, that when Ned smiles and looks at her when she says things like, "I don't want to be a girl, I'm no lady," you could just tell from everything that you've learned, or if you look into the history of the situation, that those are things that his sister would say. He sees his sister in Arya. She embodies the same, that a wolf girl that just lives by her own way, which a lot of the other, and we've talked about that a lot in the first episode. Arya and Jon, more than any of the other kids, take after the Stark.
They embody the Stark family more than all the rest.
More than the Tully. More than Robb or. But yeah, it is the Tully, isn't it? That's Catelyn's family's name, right?
Okay. So here's the thing: Aemon Targaryen, the actor that plays him, his name is Peter Vaughn, and he is partially blind.
Okay, so I'm half right.
9 years old.
Yes, well, I'm half right.
But I think his partial blindness is probably due to his 91-year-oldness, and hopefully he lives long enough to give us more great performances on this series.
I agree, Joe, but the only point of that I care is that I'm partially right.
Yes, partially.
He's partially
right.
blind. Absolutely. I'm partially correct. Yes.
And I don't know for sure if that was due to his age, his partial blindness, or or whatever. But he's partially blind, and yeah, gotta love that whole scene and the whole setup earlier to end this episode with Syrio Forel.
Big Kev, it's not easy, but it's fun to try, my friend. B-Track says, favorite scene, This is not the dance of the night, hacking and chopping. This is the dance of Bravos, the water dance.
Yep.
And yes, Arya is a sword, says Renwood. Yes, boy, tomorrow you'll be here midday. Steel Sabus, coolest dad points are just stacking up for Ned. Absolutely. She got him. He got her the absolute perfect person in this situation.
Yep. And I love this character. I can't say it enough. It's one of my favorite characters in the story, and I can't wait to see more from him. He's
let's just say
I can't. Well, and I just want to touch on one thing, like his. I don't know. He's an amazing character, and when he refers to Arya, he constantly calls her boy. He sees exactly what kind of girl he's dealing with. He's not going to treat her like a little lady. He knows that the insults he's throwing at her are also very much so a compliment.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I love that his whole reaction to her right from the start, it's all business. It's all straight up, we're going to teach you, little girl.
Yes, Renwood, if you stick with me, you'll get halfway there. You won't go too far wrong. You'll only go partially wrong. I love you guys. You guys are so awesome. But this is such a great. I agree, Joe. And this character is one of those television characters or movie characters that is so over the top that if the wrong actor or the wrong way it was written, it wouldn't work, but it works so fucking well here. And this actor just, again, we keep saying this, just fits this character like a glove and is just so over the top with it, but it works so well within the character. And then he gets into the all men are made of water. If you pierce them, water leaks out and they die. It's just, it's just so funny but menacing at the same time, and goofy but dangerous. It's just so many things merged together.
Well, it's also great to see now we have 3 different distinct types of warriors here in the Game of Thrones land. We have the Knights of Westeros, who are all armor clad and fight with lances and have tournaments and swords and battle hammers and things like that. And we were introduced to the Dothraki Horde, who have these curved swords. They fight on horseback. They don't wear armor. They're fast. They're mounted. They're light. They're light cavalry. And then now you have this swordsman from Bravos who also fights in a distinctly different way. A lighter sword, one-handed sword, parrying,
more Zorro-style swording to simplify it the way we're talking about it.
Right. More like a fighting with a cutlass than a broadsword, or a saber rather than a, two-handed battle hammer or some shit.
So he says
it's very full. I like that. That's what he's teaching. Ned has the foresight to know. Arya may not grow up to be this great hulking woman. I'm not going to teach her how to fight in armor with a two-handed sword. I'm going to teach her how to fight with a light, with the sword that she kind of has, that Jon even had made for a young girl.
Mm-hmm.
Needle. He sees that, and he knows exactly where that should go. And
again,
Cereal Forel, the best water dancer from Bravos, that's in the, he hires out, that happens to be in King's Landing or whatever.
Yep. And then as he says, try to strike me, and Arya charges him again, but obviously getting nowhere, but having the time of her life, as we mentioned. Ned steps in to watch. This is very weird. He steps in and watches, and we hear the wooden swords clack and clack again as they're starting to get into the dance. And as Ned's smiling, watching, being a happy father, as the wood keeps slapping against each other, Ned's smile kind of slowly goes away, and he starts to frown. And the sounds of the swords of the wood clacking together, it's like a sound mix, and it mixes into the sound of steel swords slapping together. I listened to it a couple of times. You heard screams, and it sounded almost like the sounds of war. And visually, how it looks like, it seems like they have real swords, and it looks like Cereal Forel stabs Arya from Ned's perspective, just the way they're going in his mind. And then the episode just stops. Fucking amazing. I don't know. Did Ned just have a vision?
Well, maybe something happened with Ned. Like he had some sort of.
Did he have a flashback or something? I don't know what happened there. It's crazy.
Great episode.
Great episode of Game of Thrones, and yes, B-Tracks. It's like fencing, more that style. And whereas and you can't cut a man's head off, but you can poke him full of holes, and he will bleed.
Yeah, and at this point in the story, if you're not fully engulfed in all that's going on, I think you should.
Yeah, this is your drop-off point. Get off the ride now. Yeah, get off the ride now.
Because,
so,
and if you don't, by the next episode or two, and what we have coming, I love it, and I can't wait to see more.
And I will talk. Ren Redwood, yep, buzzkill, absolutely. Ned is a buzzkill. Finds a way to ruin a party all the time. B-Track says maybe it was a PTSD moment. Could have been from all of his years at war. He just had like a flashback type moment right there.
Well, he knows winter's coming, and he's teaching his youngest daughter how to sword fight. So.
Yeah, it's exactly, because just thinking about the fact that if he's teaching her to fight, there's got to be an end to this where she might actually fight and put herself in a dangerous position. So this is a good place to end talking about this episode and chalk it up for the day. Guys, I'd like to thank you so much for joining us. If you're watching this live, I am going to, or if you're watching this on repeat, I am going to take this video down once we're done here, and then download it and then edit it together and put it together as one big long video. So there might be a couple of like quick
with
cuts.
the 20-minute feature that we had before we had the
20 minutes at the beginning. So this won't be available right away to watch or listen to, but it will be. I'll do it as soon as I have you at shortest the beginning of the week, but I'll try to get it done today, depending on how my day goes.
Thank you, everybody, for participating in the chat room. We love the contributions.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And next up, yes, absolutely, this Sunday, we'll be talking about the next episode of The Walking Dead. It's going to be exciting. And then Monday night, we will be talking about Better Call Saul. And
that's March 1st and 2nd.
March 1st and 2nd, guys, so look out for that. Everyone, if you have any questions or comments, you can email me at igotissuesman@gmail.com. You can tweet Joe at DirtyLocks or me at igotissuesman. You can find all of our stuff at issuesprogram.com for all of our podcasts in one place. Please subscribe to the iTunes feeds for whatever shows you're interested in, or the main feed for everything that we put out. Also, if you have any comments about this episode of The Walking Dead, whenever you're listening to this, please share them in the comment section below, when there is a comment section below, and we'll get back to you, because we'd love to talk about these episodes for years to come. So everyone, thank you so much. Renwood, awesome B-Tracks, thank you for doing this. I'm still gonna drop Janeway as best captain, Joe. Steel Sabus, this is my first time watching you guys live. Lots of fun. Steel Sabus, fucking love you. Thanks for showing up. Ghetto Toad, thank you as well, and everyone else that popped in here or is watching this at any point. We will be back tomorrow, March 1st, to talk about some Walking Dead, and probably next week around the same time to talk about episode 4 of the Game of Thrones. So, Joe, have a good day, my friend.
Peace out, everybody out there. Have a good night, Phil. See you tomorrow.
Good night. Later.